How does a poor little kid accused of killing his own family save the world from being crushed by the moon? Well, it's kind of a long story, and there's a lot of fire and force involved. That's right, today we're recapping the entire story of Fire Force. There's a lot to know before going into Fire Force, so here we go. 250 years ago, humanity suffered a disaster known as the Great Cataclysm. The world was engulfed in flames. Many humans and animal species died, but a few humans survived. These humans were then led by a man named Raffles I, who found a sacred, pure flame. With his followers, Raffles established the Tokyo Empire and the Holy Soul religion, and they created Amaterasu, a power plant that used the sacred flame as its source. Amaterasu granted life to the Tokyo Empire, which became one of the few safe places on Earth. However, not everything was safe. You see, because of the Great Cataclysm, people started experiencing spontaneous human combustion, and everyone who suffered from it turned into an infernal, which is basically a fire zombie. These infernals were classified as first-generation pyrokinetics. However, because of the spontaneous human combustion, humans started being born with fire-related powers. There are two types of these powers: second-generation pyrokinetics, who can control pre-existing fires, and third-generation pyrokinetics, who can create their own. These second and third generation users eventually join the Special Fire Force and help put down these infernals. Okay, so that's all you need to know for now. Let's go ahead and get right into it. The very first episode kicks off in the solar year 198, when a man on a train goes through spontaneous human combustion and turns into an infernal. Our MC, Shinra Kusakabe, happens to be waiting at the train station this infernal shows up at, and he's ready to take it on, only for Special Fire Force Company 8 to show up. There's the GOAT, Captain Akitaru Obi, the terrifying Lieutenant Takehisha Hinawa, the sweet and strong Maki Oze, and the lovely Sister Iris. Don't worry, you will get to know all of them in depth. They tell Shinra to step aside, and while Sister Iris sends a prayer for the poor bastard, Company 8 takes down the infernal. Shinra then swoops in with the signature flames he can emit from his feet, saves Iris from falling debris, and introduces himself as the newest member of Special Fire Force Company 8. After that, Shinra makes his way to Company 8's HQ, which is kind of a dump. There, he's formally introduced to the team and inducted as a fire soldier. Captain Obi questions him, and we learn about a particular quirk Shinra has. His facial muscles act up when he's nervous, and they make him smile. That little quirk of his has gotten him into a lot of trouble over the years, as we will see. Shinra says his goal is to be a hero, and Captain Obi likes it. But Lieutenant Hinawa mentions Shinra's dark past, and says that if this is all just a way to redeem himself, Shinra should leave now. I promise, he's not an asshole. It's just tough love. Anyway, after being introduced to the team, Captain Obi explains their goals. They take down infernals and investigate the mystery of spontaneous human combustion to stop it from even happening. Later that night, Shinra gets flashbacks of his past, but we are not going to get into that just yet. That's when the alarms start blaring. An infernal has appeared at a factory. Shinra and the team suit up, get into the signature Fire Force vehicle known as a matchbox, and head out. They get to the factory, where the owner's wife has turned into an infernal. After getting all the details, they get ready to move in. Shinra suddenly has visions of his past again, but Captain Obi bucks him up, telling him that they'll work as a team. That's when the fire gets sucked in, and Shinra is attacked. fact. Shinra then gets another flashback. You see, when Shinra was little, he lived with his mom, Mari, and his brother, Sho. One day, their house was burned down in a fire, and both Mari and Sho died in it. Everyone blamed Shinra since he was a third-generation pyrokinetic, and because his nervousness made him smile, everyone called Shinra a devil. But Shinra knows that's not the truth. Someone else, or rather, something else, was there that day his family died, and he plans on finding out what it was. Shinra's entire purpose since he was a kid was to be a hero and protect his family, and while he couldn't protect them, he's going to be a hero alright. The rest of the special company works together to clear an opening for Shinra, who, using his fiery feet, puts the Infernal to rest with one kick. After that, the owner thanks Shinra for ending his wife's suffering, and the crowd cheers for them. Shinra is loving it. The next episode kicks off with Company 8's newest recruit showing up. His name is Arthur Boyle. He's a third-generation pyrokinetic, just like Shinra, and he is a complete idiot. But in the best way possible. You'll find out. Anyway, Captain Obi tells Shinra about the upcoming Rookie Fire Soldier Games, and Shinra wonders if anyone there might know something about the fire that killed his family. He then runs into Arthur, and it looks like they know each other. Yeah, as Maki and Iris find out, Arthur and Shinra went to the Fire Soldiers Academy together, and they hate each other's guts. While Shinra calls himself a hero, Arthur is the self-proclaimed Night King. They're about to fight when Lieutenant Hinawa shows up. He says they need to prepare for the Rookie Fire Soldier Games, so he has both Arthur and Shinra spar with Maki, who is a second-generation pyrokinetic. Shinra goes first and gets his ass beat. Arthur follows with his sword Excalibur. As you'll come to find out, he is really committed to the night bit. Excalibur works because Arthur concentrates all of his flame into his empty hilt, which generates a sword of pure blue plasma, and it can cut through basically anything. Unfortunately, though, that doesn't help him. She beats his ass too, before taking control of both Shinra and Arthur's flames, making them quit. After that, Captain Obi shows Shinra some weapons that fire soldiers use, when suddenly the alarm goes off. It's another infernal. They head to the location, where a poor girl's father has turned into an infernal. The same thing happened to her mother 2 years ago. Talk about bad luck. Shinra and Arthur have their weapons out in public, so Obi gives them a talk. He says that since every infernal was a human once, what they're really doing is killing humans. And by brandishing weapons in front of their loved ones, all they're doing is being insensitive. Damn, Captain Obi is super thoughtful. That's when a smiley face made out of flames appears in front of them. It was made by a man with a covered eye, wearing a hat and smoking a cigarette. His name is Joker. More on him later. For now, the team heads in and finds the infernal sitting peacefully. Turns out, the poor man is doing all he can to keep the flames at bay. Shinra wonders if they have to kill him, but Arthur reminds him that the man is in pain, and he asks Captain Obi for permission to put the infernal to rest. Obi grants it, and with Sister's prayer, Arthur puts his first infernal down. That's when Joker starts blowing the apartment up. Captain Obi saves a picture for the family and vows to stop whoever did this. Obi then gives the poor girl her family portrait and offers some kind words. Shinra hates this, and Obi tells him that's good. The worst thing that could happen would be him becoming numb to death. Later that night, Arthur and Shinra are now roommates, and Shinra wants to get rid of spontaneous human combustion as soon as possible. The next episode starts with Joker's associate, the mad scientist Victor Leaked, giving us some info. Apparently, fires are breaking all over the world. Countries are disappearing off the map, and it is total chaos in most places. Luckily, thanks to the power plant Amaterasu, the Tokyo Empire is one of the few safe spots left on the planet. It's also clear they're interested in Special Fire Force Company 8. We then see Leaked chilling at the Rookie Fire Soldier Games, waiting to see Shinra in action. There, Shinra sees Leonard Burns, the captain of Company 1. Burns is a cool old man with an eye patch and white hair, and he happens to be the soldier who helped Shinra after the fire that killed his family 12 years ago. Shinra goes after Burns, but is stopped by one of Burns' subordinates and a fellow rookie. This is Tamaki Kotatsu, and she's the most divisive character in the entire show. Why, you ask? Well, 2 words: fan service. I have to address this, unfortunately, so here it is. Tamaki is the victim of some of the worst, most unnecessary and forced fan service in anime history. That's just the truth of the matter. She just ends up in suggestive positions thanks to her lucky leisure lure, which is some bullshit kind of magic thingy. We will be ignoring all instances of fan service, except in Season 3, where it ties into the plot in a meaningful way, believe it or not. Anyway, after that, Shinra meets Burns and asks him about the fire. Burns says he doesn't remember, but it's clear that he's hiding something. Anyway, the games then start. The goal is simple: make your way inside a building and find the Fire Force officer posing as an infernal. Shinra uses his ability to fly and make his way inside the building first, and he sees Joker standing over a passed-out fire soldier. Joker then says he has info about the fire that killed Shinra's family. Wait, what? What is going on here? Shinra attacks him, but Joker swiftly dodges his moves, saying he's not impressed at all. Still, Shinra has shown Joker enough for him to drop the first hint. Joker says Shinra's brother Sho is still alive. Shinra finds that hard to believe, but when Joker says people are hiding the truth, Shinra realizes he might be onto something. Joker offers Shinra a chance to join him, but only if he gives up being a hero. Shinra refuses outright and starts fighting him again. Joker uses black ashes to light fires, and he's giving Shinra a tough time. Arthur and Tamaki then show up and Joker pieces out, but not before leaving enough ash to blow the entire building up. So Shinra grabs the passed out soldiers and with Arthur and Tamaki's help flies out the roof as the building explodes.
Shut up, you jerk! Of course I'm a hero!
Shinra saves the soldiers from falling. Burns grabs Tamaki, and Maki and some fire soldiers save Arthur. In the aftermath, Burns praises Shinra and tells Obi he has a fine soldier on his hands. Later that night, they show up to investigate the building, and Shinra tells Obi everything Joker told him, except the part about Sho. Shinra then asks if the Special Fire Force really means to help people. Captain Obi says yes, but it's complicated. You see, the Special Fire Force was made by 3 different groups: the Holy Soul Temple, the Tokyo Armed Forces, and the Fire Defense Agency, and different entities influence different companies. The Holy Soul Temple has a heavy influence on Company 1, the Tokyo Armed Forces on Company 2, and Haijima Industries, the company that builds all their equipment, on Company 5. Obi explains that while they're all working towards the same goal, they all consider each other rivals, so no info is ever shared between them. Obi then says he thinks someone in the Special Fire Force already knows the secret behind spontaneous human combustion. That is why the 8th exists, to investigate the other units, solely focused on finding the truth, and Shinra is honored to be a part of it. Episode 4 starts with us getting a look at Princess Hibana, the captain of the 5th Company. She has pink hair and she moves like a dictator. She sits on a throne made of her subordinates, uses them as literal stepping stones, and takes orders from no one. We then see Shinra and Obi learn that the ashes Joker was using came from infernals, which pisses them off even more. Shinra can't bring himself to tell them about Shoal still being alive, so he keeps it to himself. Anyway, Arthur and Shinra help the Special Fire Force's mascot out of a tree, who explains why the Special Fire Force company isn't super popular. There was a fire soldier named Miyamoto, who was a serial killer. He was eventually captured, and he's gonna get a non-guilty verdict. Sure enough, that's what happens when Miyamoto suddenly bursts into flames. But instead of turning into a regular infernal, Miyamoto retains his personality and he takes the judge hostage. Company 8 springs into action, and when Arthur and Shinra find out, they rush to the scene too. Hearing about the whole talking infernal thing, Shinra and Arthur arrive and save the judge. The rest of the team shows up too, and they fight Miyamoto. Miyamoto runs away, so Obi sends Shinra after them. He's the only one fast enough to catch up. Shinra is conflicted about killing someone who can still talk, but Lieutenant Hinawa reminds him of his duty. So Shinra chases Miyamoto down and beats the living hell out of him. This kid is good. Nearby, Company 5 is watching this from a roof. One of Hibana's men, named Conehead, says he sensed an Adola burst from Shinra. A lot more on that later. Shinra is ready to kill Miyamoto, but Hibana shows up with her company and stops him. Hibana makes Shinra fall to the ground and tells him to lick her feet, while her subordinates hold him down. Kinky. But Shinra fights his way back up and is ready to throw down when Captain Obi and the others show up. Hibana tells Obi that killing such a unique specimen like Miyamoto would be a waste. She'll study him and share the results. Yeah, right. Obi agrees, and one of Hibana's men, named Toru Kishiri, makes fun of him for being weak. After all, Obi has no powers. Arthur and Shinra get up in Kishiri's face for that, and Maki gives him a good punch for it. After that, Company 5 takes Miyamoto and leaves, but this is far from over. The next episode opens with Sister Iris reflecting on her past. Turns out, Iris and Hibana grew up at the same church together, and they were even friends, until something happened. Keep that in mind. Shinra sees her and asks if she's okay, and Iris says she is, but she totally isn't though. Later, Company 8 has a meeting about the whole Miyamoto incident. Everyone except Arthur, who's an idiot with a very strong imagination.
Excepting Arthur, of course, since he has none.
He thinks a lizard is a dragon. Anyway, Hinawa explains how Hibana became captain thanks to her research on infernals, and Hinawa says they're gonna get to the bottom of this by force if they have to. He should have said that they're gonna use fire force to... I'll let myself out. Over at 5th Company HQ, Hibana is torturing Miyamoto. I don't feel sorry for him, but good lord, that is one sick woman. Sister Iris decides to go and talk to Hibana and asks her what she's doing, calling her research blasphemous. But Hibana is having none of that. She burns Iris's holy clothes, calling her an idiot and saying there is no god. She covers Iris with her coat and says she'll use Iris as bait. Sure enough, Shinra and Company 8 show up to save Iris. Shinra and Arthur go on ahead, while Hinawa and Maki give them cover. Arthur then runs into the old Conehead, who's using Miyamoto as a weapon. Meanwhile, Maki and Hinawa are attacked by Toru Kishiri, who's using bubblegum firebombs. But Hinawa is an absolute beast. He's a second generation too, which means he can control flames. So he shoots bullets at Toru Kishiri and uses their sparks to redirect them and take Kishiri down. If you were expecting regular fire powers, you have no idea how crazy this show is gonna be. Back with Arthur, Miyamoto is whooping his ass, and Arthur knows something is off. That's when he realizes he's holding Excalibur in his left hand when he's a righty. Does he actually think that'll make a difference?
That was my violet flash.
Never mind then. We then cut to Shinra, who's made it outside where Hibana and Iris are. The next episode starts with Shinra taking down some fodder before facing Hibana again. Hibana says she's gonna destroy everyone in the 8, starting with Shinra. She makes him fall down again, and Shinra is dizzy. He has no idea what this power is. Turns out it's called heat syncope. Hibana is trapping heat around Shinra's body, raising his temperature and making his body malfunction. Shinra manages to power through, so Hibana brings out her real power, Clematis, a flower-shaped fire that she controls with her fan. She makes an entire sakura tree, and it is incredible.
Sakura!
David Productions, you are so goated. She then tells Iris that religion is and that money and status are the only things that matter. We then see a flashback of Hibana and Iris's childhood. Hibana was showing all of her fellow nuns flowers made with her fire. Iris was super shy, so Hibana invited her over too. The nun in charge, Sister Sumire, told Hibana to stop playing around with her flowers, but Hibana didn't care. She loved putting on a show for the others. Unfortunately, that all stopped one day when the sisters all spontaneously combusted. Only Iris and Hibana survived, and Hibana has never believed in God since that day. Back in the present, Shinra is being cooked by the sakura petals, but he stands up anyway. He can tell Hibana is in pain, and he says he'll save her by knocking her out, and he does just that. Hibana then relives her past again and remembers how she took Iris away from the fire. After that, Hibana didn't just lose faith in religion. She thought her powers were evil, so she decided to become a devil. She abandoned Iris, joined Haijima Industries, and worked her way to captain. Hibana then wakes up to find Iris nursing her, with Shinra standing by. Hibana is amazed that she's still alive, and Iris says she and the other girls all looked up to Hibana. Hibana says she has no one to look up to, so Shinra says he'll be her hero, and Hibana instantly develops a crush on him. Let's not mention the age gap. Anyway, Hibana then shows Iris some flowers, just like the old days, and Iris hugs her. After that, Iris and Hibana come up with the idea of covering all of this up as a joint training exercise. Captain Obi gets ready to join the fight, only to realize that it's already over. The next episode starts with Captain Burns of the First Company meeting with his men. Starry-eyed redhead Rekka Hoshimiya, there's the hat-wearing Ho Yan Lee, and blue-haired Karim Flam. They know there was no joint training between the 5th and the 8th. Obi is making his move. Meanwhile, the 5th and the 8th enjoy a nice barbecue together, and everyone's having a good time. After it's over, Obi and Hibana have a chat. Hibana reveals she learned something about the infernals. Turns out, not all of them are natural. Some infernals are being created by somebody out there. They both swear to hunt the person responsible. Just one problem. All the man-made infernals come from Company 1's area. So, to investigate, Obi organizes an exchange program in which Arthur and Shinra spend time with the First Company. Hibana sends Toru Kishiri as well, and has Company 2 send over their rookie Takeru Noto, better known as Juggernaut. After Shinra and the others show up, he suggests a sparring session and says Burns has to answer any questions Shinra asks if Shinra wins. Burns accepts. Up first though, it's Juggernaut versus Rekka. Juggernaut makes a bunch of fire missiles and sends them at Rekka, who just dodges them all. The missiles come towards Karim, who uses his trombone to dissipate their energy and turn them into ice. Now that's cool! After him, Toru Kishiri refuses to fight, so it's Arthur and Shinra versus Burns. Arthur goes first, only for Burns to stop Excalibur with his bare hands.
But what if this should fail you?
Shinra goes next, but his best shot just makes a hole in Burns' shirt before Burns sends him flying back just by taking a step. This old man is strong. Burns then welcomes them both to the first company before heading off. Episode 8 kicks off with someone from the first company speaking on the phone. He says he'll continue to turn people into infernals in the name of the evangelist. In case it wasn't obvious enough, this show has some heavy religious themes. Hibana then reports her findings to Captain Obi and Lieutenant Hinawa. Their suspect is using insects to turn people into infernals. Anyway, Shinra and Arthur wake up. It's their 5th day at Company 1. After a check-in with Hinawa and a quick breakfast, Shinra and Arthur join Company 1 for an infernal takedown. They're forced to stay back when Shinra sees something horrifying. A man being turned into an infernal. Shinra and Arthur follow the culprit through an alley, which leads them to Reika and Karim. They stay quiet, but they know they have their 2 prime suspects now. Later, they investigate Karim's room first and find a small vial with the insect inside. But Karim isn't mad. He says he's been using that vial as bait and realizes the 8th company is after the same thing he is. After talking to Arthur and Shinra, Karim realizes the only other possible culprit is his comrade and friend, Reika. We then see Tamaki approach some children, saying that she can make them fireproof. She takes them to Reika, who's also joined by a mother and her kids. He says he'll make the kids immune to spontaneous human combustion and tells Tamaki to wait outside. Tamaki says she wants to stay, so Reika hugs her and knocks her out. The mother gets scared, so Reika just implants an insect into her and turns her into an infernal before killing her. Not in front of the kids! While Arthur and Shinra join Karim in his search for Reika, Tamaki wakes up and asks Reika what the hell he's doing, and Reika explains it all with a big smile. He's using these kids as test subjects. He'll keep planting bugs in them and turning them into infernals until one of them doesn't turn into an infernal. That one will be the candidate for the pilot light. Stay tuned to figure out what that is. Reika then beats Tamaki unconscious, and up next is the orange-haired kid Nataku. Reika puts an insect in him, and Nataku starts bursting into flames. Nataku actually doesn't turn into an infernal, which makes him a perfect candidate for Reika. Reika then says he's gonna experiment on the other kids, and Tamaki begs him to stop before sending out a distress signal, one that Shinra sees. Reika starts beating her up again and is about to kill her until our hero swoops in from the sky, kicks Reika, and saves Tamaki. The next episode kicks off with Reika getting right back up, and his fight with Shinra is on. Shinra is a beast. Even though Reika's a lieutenant, Shinra is keeping up with him. That's when one of Reika's bugs reacts to Shinra's flames, and Reika says Shinra has what the evangelist has been looking for. Shinra has an Adola burst. Reika describes them as pure, unaltered flames and says that the evangelist needs them. But Shinra isn't interested in all that and begins fighting again. Reika is tough as nails, but Shinra has one advantage over him: mobility, and Shinra uses it to his advantage, absolutely pummeling Reika. Reika has taken a serious beating, but he manages to get back up. Shinra asks him who the hell this evangelist is and what their goal is. So Reika tells him to find enough people with Adola bursts to cover this entire world in flames and turn it into a second sun. Now that is insane. Reika then starts charging up, planning to kill himself and everyone in there until Karim shows up and turns Reika's flames to ice. Reika keeps heating up until he's completely frozen. He's finally stopped. Fellow Lieutenant Hoyan Lee shows up too, and they plan to interrogate Reika later when a flame arrow pierces Reika, killing him. Two people in white robes watch from a distance. One of them is the archer who shot Reika. The man tells the archer to take out the fire soldiers, so the archer charges another fire arrow. A fight begins, and Hoyan Lee loses an arm. Karim comes up with a plan to scare them off, and it works. The people in white say they'll report back to their commander and leave. In the aftermath, Tamaki says she's ready for any punishments coming her way, even though she was tricked by Reika into helping him. Karim, meanwhile, mourns the death of someone he thought was a friend. He then tells Shinra he wants to stop the Evangelist too, and that they'll do it together. Just like that, Company 8 has allies in 2 companies. After that, training is cancelled, and Shinra returns to the 8th. Tamaki joins him too, saying she's been suspended from Company 1, so Obi's taking her in for the time being. Raffles III, the leader of the Holy Soul Temple, decides he's gonna have a meeting with the captains of all 8 Special Fire Force companies about this whole evangelist nonsense. Obi and Hibana prepare for the meeting. Obi is also joined by Hinawa, and the two can't help but smile at how lively the 8th has become recently. When they leave, Obi and Hibana take Shinra and Tamaki with them to the meeting, since they witnessed the whole thing firsthand. On their way there, they see Amaterasu, the eternal thermal plant that provides energy to all of the Tokyo Empire. They get there, and we are introduced to the other captains. Gustav Honda of the 2nd, Soichiro Hagu of the 4th, Dr. Giovanni of the 3rd, Kayoko Huang of the 6th, and my goat Benimaru Shinman of the 7th. Raffles III shows up to start the meeting, but Benimaru says he wants nothing to do with it and leaves. After all, he's from Asakusa, a proto-nationalist state. Anyway, Joker is keeping tabs on the meeting and says Shinra's getting closer to the truth. Raffles III asks if Shinra has an Adola burst, and Shinra says that he does. When Shinra asks for an explanation, Raffles says it's the purest form of flame. Not only did it make the world what it is today, but an Adola burst, much like Shinra's, is also the power source for Amaterasu. Dr. Giovanni suggests putting Shinra in protection, since the Evangelist is after his Adola burst, but Obi promises to keep him safe. The meeting is dismissed, and everyone heads home except Shinra, who wants to check out Amaterasu. There, Joker meets him again, but no fight happens this time. Instead, Joker tells Shinra that his brother, Sho, is working for the Evangelist as a commander. He tells Shinra to keep chasing the Evangelist, saying he'll end up finding Sho. Joker then disappears, so Shinra returns to the 8th and they start investigating. After a long day of sifting through paperwork, Shinra helps Hinawa make dinner. Hinawa asks him if he's okay and tells Shinra to share what's troubling him if he wants to. He can trust the 8th. So, at dinner, Shinra tells everyone about Joker and Sho. Shinra knows he can't really trust Joker, but Obi says the only thing that matters is if Shinra wants to believe Sho is still alive, and Shinra does. We then get a look at Sho, and he looks pretty evil to me. Let's take a break and learn how the 8th Company came to be. It all started in the solar year 195 at the Tokyo Imperial Armed Forces. Hinawa was in the military, as was Maki back in the day. Hinawa had a friend named Tojo, a super nice guy who got along well with Hinawa and had just gotten his gun baptized, a ritual that makes a weapon able to put infernals to rest properly. One night, Tojo became an infernal and begged Hinawa to shoot him, but Hinawa couldn't, and the other soldiers had to put Tojo down. Damn. Hinawa then took Tojo's gun. One day, Hinawa saw Obi, who was still a firefighter. Some assholes from the 3rd Company were sent to take down 2 infernals, but decided to ignore the less dangerous one. Obi decided he'd put that man's suffering to an end himself, and Hinawa decided to help him. As they made their way to the Infernal, Hinawa explained he wasn't a man of faith, and he didn't get why people baptized their weapons. But Obi explained that the little ritual brought peace to both the person being put to rest and the person doing it. Hinawa stepped in to take down the Infernal, since he couldn't put Tojo to rest. After that, Obi decided he'd start his own special Fire Force company. 2 years later, he did that and recruited Hinawa, who in turn recruited Maki, and that's how it it all started. They then shift their focus to Company 8's very first case. It was an infernal covered in white clothes linked to a strange company, and the company is still active and is based in Asakusa, which is the jurisdiction of the 7th, and Benimaru, the strongest fire soldier. We then see Benimaru walk through Asakusa, and he's super popular. At home, he's greeted by the twins Hinata and Hikage, as well as his lieutenant Sagamiya Konro, and that is when Company 8 shows up. Just a little problem with that. Benimaru hates everything about the Tokyo Empire and refuses to cooperate. Shinra says he'll force Benimaru to work with them when the alarm goes off. Someone turned into an infernal, so Benimaru gets up and starts destroying buildings around him. What's more, the people are cheering. What in the heck is going on? Benimaru seems to be creating and controlling his own flames, and that's because he has the powers of both a second and a third generation pyrokinetic. He's in a league of his own. After destroying hella buildings, Benimaru puts the infernal, who was an old friend, to rest.
Way to hang in there, friend.
And an old lady tells Shinra that the whole destruction thing is done as a tribute to the person dying. There's no one they'd rather be put to rest by than Benimaru. The next episode starts with the old man's funeral, and in Asakusa, it's basically a party. It's actually a pretty nice way of honoring the dead. After that, the people of Asakusa come together to repair all the damaged houses, and the members of Company 8 pitch in to help. Meanwhile, the followers of the Evangelist, aka the White Clad, decide to take down the 8th, and they have a lot of infernal creating bugs. We then see Benimaru bandaging his lieutenant, Konro, who seems to be in bad shape. Benimaru says Konro should be captain of the 7th. He's not cut out for this stuff, but Konro says Benimaru's the captain for a reason. After seeing all that Shinra and his team have done, Benimaru says he'll help with their investigation and heads out to meet Obi. He's a nice guy and a badass. So Benimaru heads over and hears Obi and Hinawa say they were the ones who turned his friend into an infernal. What?
Let's turn as many of these people as we can into infernals.
Benimaru starts chasing them down, and Obi and Hinawa have no idea why. When Benimaru tells them why, they say it's some kind of mistake, but Benimaru knows what he saw, or at least he thinks he did. In reality, he was tricked by two white-clad members who disguised themselves as Hinawa and Obi, but Benimaru's too mad to care. So, Company 8 takes him on and gets demolished. Every single member gets whooped. This guy is unbelievable. That's when Obi steps up in his suit of armor. No powers, just pure muscles and willpower. And he does better than any of his teammates, even managing to make Benimaru bleed. Obi keeps trying to explain that this is all a misunderstanding, but Benimaru won't listen. That is, until Konro shows up and begs him to listen to them. So, Benimaru listens, and both Obi and Hinawa give him a solid alibi. Benimaru goes to check on it, while Konro tells everyone how he ended up in such bad shape. A few years ago, there was a massive outbreak of infernals in Asakusa. The Special Fire Force was late, so Benimaru and Konro just handled it. That's when a super beefed up version of an infernal known as a demon infernal showed up. Benimaru was already at his limit, so Konro pushed him aside and took it on by himself. When Benimaru woke up, Konro had won, but he'd gone too far. Konro used his powers too much, and his body ended up suffering from typhrosis, a disease that only happens to third-generation pyrokinetics who push themselves too far. That's when the 4th company showed up, and Captain Hagu offered Konro and Asakusa a chance to become the 7th Special Fire Force Company, and the rest is history. Konro then says that he would sacrifice his life for Benimaru, but Shinra says he shouldn't throw his life away. After all, if Konro ever needs help, all he has to do is call for Shinra. Konro then goes to investigate too. Meanwhile, Benimaru sees Asakusa in total chaos. What is going on? Turns out, everyone's having arguments and are accusing each other of things they never did. The 7th Company twins, Hinata and Hikage, are fighting too, until Arthur attacks Hikage and exposes her as an imposter. Turns out, a white-clad member named Yona can change people's faces with his fire, and he's been using it to cause chaos in Asakusa. But that's just phase 1 of the White-Clad's plan. Phase 2 is making a bunch of infernals. Benimaru is stumped on what to do, and all hell is breaking loose. While the white-clad archer leads Shinra and Arthur away from the battlefield, Konro questions the imposter Hikage, but the bastard refuses to tell anything and turns himself into an infernal. Hinawa, Tamaki, and Obi put the imposter to rest, and then tell Konro that the people of Asakusa won't listen to them. Company 8 can't evacuate them, so Konro makes his way to an outpost to get a vantage point and find Benimaru. Meanwhile, Shinra and Arthur take on the archer and her teammate. Their coordination is off at first, but they figure it out and start winning against them. So, the archer's teammate makes himself an infernal. Meanwhile, Benimaru puts an infernal to rest, and it looks like he's ready to fight. Episode 14 kicks off with Konro telling Benimaru that he has to rally the people of Asakusa. Benimaru says that they need a leader like Konro, but Konro helps Benimaru believe in his own capabilities as a leader. So, Benimaru addresses all of Asakusa. He tells them about imposters in their midst and says there's only one way to deal with this: beat the hell out of each other. According to Benimaru, the people of Asakusa would never lose to imposters, and the people love this idea. With that, they set off some fireworks and start fighting. While the soldiers of the 7th Company deal with the infernals, Arthur and Shinra watch on in horror as the white-clad they're fighting doesn't just turn into an infernal, he turns into a demon. While Benimaru decides to take the demon on, Shinra realizes he saw something that looked just like the demon the day he lost his family, and he suddenly has a strange vision. The archer tells Shinra what he just experienced was an Adola link, saying his flames are meant to burn away humanity. Remember that, it'll be important. For now, Shinra and Arthur are absolutely no match for the demon. Luckily, Benimaru shows up and takes over the fight, while Maki and the others find Hikage. Benimaru realizes he's gonna need a lot of firepower to take down this demon, so he takes it to the sky. The archer shoots a full-powered arrow at Benimaru, and Konro can't stop it. So, Konro calls out to Shinra, who has another Adola link, and he immediately goes after the arrow. Shinra refuses to accept the archer's words. He says his flames are meant to preserve humanity, and proves it by kicking the arrow away, saving Benimaru. Benimaru thanks him and turns his focus to the demon. Benimaru attacks, but the demon doesn't budge. Konro and the rest of Asakusa cheer him on from below. So, Benimaru borrows one of Konro's moves and gives us one of the coldest soundbites in anime history. Seriously? Just enjoy this.
Sorry, Konro.
He really is the strongest. The demon is smited, the fires and the infernals are all gone, and Shinra catches Benimaru out of the sky. It's over. After that, the town is rebuilt. Again. Turns out, the white-clad burned down the 8th Company building that Obi and his team were looking for in Asakusa, so they're back to having no leads. Still, they did gain something from it: a friendship with Benimaru, and the unwavering support of the 7th. I'd say that was worth the trouble. The next episode starts with Yona and the archer, whose name is Arrow, reporting their findings to Sho, Shinra's brother. Sho decides they need to capture Shinra and says he'll join the effort himself. Meanwhile, Company 8 is strong-armed into hiring a head scientist, and Haijima Industries has provided them with the one and only Victor Leaked, Joker's accomplice. Oh boy. Now that Leaked is on the team, they need an engineer too, and Obi has someone in mind: the red-headed genius named Vulcan. One problem with that: Vulcan hates Haijima Industries, and he hates the Fire Force for working with them. Olby has a plan though. He sends Shinra, Arthur, and Iris to recruit him, since they're about the same age as Vulcan. So the three head over in civilian clothes, only to get smacked in the head with cans. Turns out, Vulcan's not even interested in hearing their pitch. Luckily, someone else is. Vulcan's young apprentice, Yu. Yu explains that Hajima really wants Vulcan to work for them, but since he refuses, Hajima has cut off all Vulcan's merchants from him, making working a nightmare. Still, Yu helps Vulcan by getting him the tools he needs. Shinra explains that the 8th isn't like the other companies, and Yu believes him, so he takes them inside Vulcan's workshop. There, they meet Vulcan's gorgeous red-headed teammate Lisa. She's not happy that another Fire Force company is here. Shinra and the others can then see Vulcan work, and he sure lives up to the hype by building him cool stuff. That's when the captain of Company 3, Dr. Giovanni, comes for a visit. He threatens Vulcan, telling him to come work for Hajima, but Vulcan refuses, accusing Hajima of killing his father and his grandfather. Giovanni walks away, and Shinra convinces Vulcan to hear them out. After some shenanigans, Vulcan says he won't join Company 8, but says he'll show them something. That something is a 3D projection of all the animals that once lived in the world, and it is glorious. Vulcan's dream is to create a power source even greater than Amaterasu, so we can restore life to all parts of the world and save the animals. Shinra knows he's perfect for Company 8, but Vulcan refuses anyway. Yu explains that Vulcan thinks Giovanni has something to do with his grandpa and dad both dying. After all, they both turned into infernals. They're about to leave when Shinra suddenly experiences another Adola link, and in it, he sees Giovanni giving someone the order to kill Vulcan. The next episode starts with Vulcan, Lisa, and Yu enjoying their time together. Vulcan says he knows he can achieve his dream, especially with Yu and Lisa at his side. They're his family. Meanwhile, Shinra tells Arthur and Iris about his vision, and he has a plan. Arthur and Iris will tell Vulcan what's going on, while Shinra scouts for enemies. Unfortunately, that's not how it works out. Giovanni is working with the White Clad, and he sends about 100 soldiers after Vulcan. Meanwhile, Shinra is ambushed by Giovanni. Shinra's tough, but 2 million volts of electricity can deal with tough, and Shinra is knocked out cold. Meanwhile, the white-clad knights Flail and Mirage are outside Vulcan's workshop. Arthur doesn't have his sword, but says he can fight if Vulcan makes him feel knightly. So Vulcan tries and, For some reason, this works for Arthur. He takes on the White Clad and he's doing great. That is, until Mirage shows Arthur what he really looks like, and it shatters his illusion, decreasing his power. Vulcan decides to help Arthur and tells Lisa and Yu to escape. He also mentions that it was his family who created Amaterasu, which feels like something he should have mentioned before. And that's when Lisa attacks Vulcan. Turns out, Lisa's not some down-on-her-luck orphan who Vulcan took in. She's a spy working for Giovanni and the Evangelist, always has been, and she demands something specific from Vulcan, the key to Amaterasu. Vulcan is heartbroken, but also he has no idea what she's talking about. Giovanni shows up and starts interrogating Vulcan. When Vulcan says he doesn't know about any key, Giovanni shoots Yu. But Vulcan genuinely doesn't know about the key, so Giovanni starts wrecking shit all over the shop, and Vulcan realizes that his whole life just crumbled in front of him. Damn. The next episode starts with Hibana finding and freeing Shinra from his restraints. He immediately flies to Vulcan's workshop, helping Arthur fight. Giovanni manages to find the key to Amaterasu and is ready to leave when Shinra comes crashing in and attacks him. Giovanni gets right back up though, and Lisa joins the fight. She's a 3rd generation and can make lava tentacles that grab humans using their natural magnetic field. Outside, Hibana shows up to take down Mirage and Flail. She's not really helping Arthur. If anything, he's in danger too. Back inside, Shinra is struggling until Vulcan has Iris release hundreds of little mechanical stuffed animals. It's not a lot, but it disrupts Lisa's lava tentacles and stops Hibana from killing Arthur, while Shinra wallops Giovanni outside. Shinra then follows him and sees Sho standing outside. Shinra greets his brother with happiness, only for Sho to seemingly stop time to observe Shinra, and Sho does not like what he sees. Sho smacks Shinra and tells Shinra he's gonna come with him. Arthur tries to fight Sho, but is immediately cut down. Sho is surprised by Arthur's speed though. He then tells his subordinates to bring Shinra along when Licht arrives in a pickup truck. He saves everyone, including Arthur and Shinra. Vulcan tries to get Lisa to come with them, but she pulls her hands back. Damn. Sho tries to stop them from escaping when Joker shows up too. He fights Sho and occupies him long enough for Licht and the others to escape. Joker then also escapes, but says Sho is an absolute monster. Shinra and the others then get Yu and Arthur to the hospital. Vulcan says he's not giving up on Lisa or his dream, and Shinra promises to help him with that. So, at least for now, Vulcan is joining the 8th. When Vulcan has dinner at the 8th, he sees how different they are from the other companies and decides to stay. Of course, his dad and grandpa were against it, so before he leaves, Vulcan visits their graves, pays his respects, and apologizes for going back on his word. He is one cool dude. Episode 18 starts with Konro, Karim, and Captain Hibana visiting the 8th Company to compare notes on the Evangelist and the White-Clad. While they do that, Licht investigates the White-Clad and talks to Joker about all of this. Joker says the White-Clad's commander, Sho, is way too strong for the 8th to take on right now. Both Joker and Obi conclude that Shinra needs to get stronger. Licht decides to come up with a way to improve Shinra's flames, and Konro has an idea as well. Have the 8th's rookies train with Benimaru. Meanwhile, Vulcan is showing off the new tech he's made. Ooh, he's gonna help out a lot. Back with Shinra and Arthur, they spar with Benimaru. Benimaru explains that they need to be acutely aware of life, their own life, and the lives of everything around them, including their enemies. After some sparring, Benimaru says Shinra needs to use his speed to develop a killer move, while Arthur needs training on the basics. Licht then shows up with some advice. Right now, Shinra's flames are all over the place, but if you can concentrate them, it'll make him go even faster. Shinra's having a tough time of it though, until he notices Benimaru using hand signs. We then see Vulcan give Maki Tekyo, two super cool hammers that Maki can control with her powers and use for combat. Shinra gives the hand signs a go himself, and Benimaru explains that they're ancient hand signs known as kata. Each kata helps channel energy into a different part of the body. Benimaru then shows Shinra the Tiger Crush kata, which is supposed to help channel energy into the feet, and it works like a charm. Benimaru continues training them, and Konro says Benimaru's having fun training the brats. After their training is complete, Benimaru tells Shinra to make sure he saves his brother. Shinra says he will, and that's when he has another Adola link. Licht and Obi discover that Sho and the White-Clad are hiding underground in a place called the Nether, and tomorrow they're going after the bastards. Shinra then has a flashback to himself and Sho as kids. Later that night, Shinra has another Adola link. He's in a super hot place, and he sees someone who looks a lot like Iris. That's when an earthquake wakes him up, and Obi says that these earthquakes have been getting more frequent. The next day, everyone gears up and heads out. It's Vulcan and Licht's first mission, and they're kinda hyped. Anyway, the Nether is basically just the abandoned underground railway system from before the Great Cataclysm. But according to the Holy Soul Bible, it's the closest place to hell. So, after Iris says a prayer, they head inside, and the White-Clad are waiting for them. As soon as Obi and his team get inside, they're surrounded by smoke, Mirage's clones, and Yona's body doubles. Obi tries his best to keep everyone together, but everyone gets split up. Obi is with Vulcan, while Iris is with two Tamakis. One's very clearly the imposter, but Iris can't figure out which one until Tamaki's Lucky Leshurr lure activates. Not this again. Anyway, that's when the white-clad knight Assault confronts them, and he means business. We then see Maki surrounded by Flail and his men, who thinks she's a pushover. But Maki proves them wrong by using her cool new hammers, Tekio, to lay the smackdown on them. After Maki dispatches Flail's cronies, Flail takes her on himself. However, he makes the mistake of calling her muscular, and Maki hates being called muscular. Meanwhile, Assault is creating fire torpedoes and launching them at Tamaki, who's having a real rough time. She finally locks in to protect Iris, and just when this could have been a great character development moment, Tamaki instead beats Assault by accidentally distracting him with her Lucky Leshurr lure. I would have skipped this part entirely, but believe it or not, it has plot relevance in the last season. Episode 20 kicks off with Hinawa making his way through the Nether when Arrow attacks him. While Shinra saves Leaked from a white-clad member, Hinawa is doing all he can to land a hit on Arrow. Arrow manages to get him trapped in an abandoned train and gets a good shot in. But Hinawa is no slouch. He pulls out the big guns, literally, and uses all of his power to start trading shots with Arrow. She ends up taking quite a bit of damage, but when the dust settles, Hinawa is on his back, and Arrow is still standing. Hinawa's entire body is telling him to give up, but if he does, he won't be able to help Obi run Company 8, and that just won't do. So, he gets up, launches a final attack, and uses Arrow's firepower to enhance it, absolutely wrecking her. Hinawa then falls down, and Mirage and Yona move in for the kill. Luckily for Hinawa, he opened a hole in the wall for Arthur to jump through. Yona steps aside, and Mirage tries to distract Arthur with his illusions. But unlike last time, Arthur is unfazed. Benimaru taught him that every attack comes with the breath of life, something the illusions don't have. After waiting, Arthur slices, and barely misses Hinawa's head. But Arthur knows what he's doing. He sensed Mirage trying to stab Hinawa and cut him down. Mirage is done for. Yona escapes though, and Arthur questions if that guy is even human. Keep that in mind. Meanwhile, Iris and Tamaki find Maki, while Vulcan and Obi run into Dr. Giovanni, and Lisa clearly cares about Vulcan, and Vulcan says he's not gonna give up on her. But Giovanni reminds Lisa that he's the one who took her in and taught her everything when she had nothing. And Lisa reveals her name to be Feeler, and gets ready to fight. Giovanni then says that their leader, the Evangelist, knows all the secrets about spontaneous human combustion, the Adola burst, and a lot more. But Giovanni isn't gonna share. The next episode starts with Lisa giving Vulcan and Obi the business, while Giovanni does his evil rant. Lisa says her parents died in a flame caused by infernals, and then Giovanni unlocked her powers with an infernal bug. Now, the same flames she was once afraid of protect her. Obi knows this is and is determined to save Lisa, and he does that by placing fire-extinguishing grenades under all of her tentacles and then setting them off. Lisa falls and thinks about how she's lost everything until Vulcan grabs her. She hasn't lost him yet. Lisa starts crying, but Giovanni isn't a fan of reunions. He reminds Lisa that she owes him everything, and Lisa walks back to him, apologizing to Vulcan. That's when Giovanni takes Lisa hostage. He says he'll kill Lisa unless Vulcan shoots Obi. Vulcan says no, but Obi tells him to do it. He has no choice. So Vulcan shoots Obi and Giovanni lets her go, only for Obi to get back up. Turns out Vulcan made a bulletproof vest for him. Vulcan then mocks Giovanni's tech before bringing out his own gizmos and taking him on. Vulcan then tends to Lisa while Obi attacks Giovanni and questions him. Giovanni says all sorts of things, but it basically boils down to this. The Evangelists know the real truth of the world, and Adola bursts are what cause human combustion. He also casts doubt on the legitimacy of the Holy Soul Temple. He then says Obi can never understand what the Evangelist is, but Shinra will, thanks to his connection with Sho. Speaking of Shinra, he has another Adola link, but it's weird. He sees a demon pop out and caress his face. He sees his mom, Captain Burns, Sho, and a bunch of other unsettling stuff. When it's over, Shinra sees footprints, and when he follows them, they take him directly to Sho. Leaked watches on as Shinra tries to talk to Sho, who is not interested. They start fighting, but their speed has licked shook. That's the power of two Adola bursts going after each other. It looks pretty evenly matched until Sho pulls out his time stop ability again. Shinra is in trouble. Meanwhile, Giovanni just leaves. His mission was to get Shinra to Sho. He abandons Lisa, and the poor girl is gonna have to do a lot of work to get over his brainwashing. Back with Shinra, Sho is whooping him, saying Shinra can't beat him. They exist in different universes. Licht figures out what Sho's ability is, but before he can explain, Sho decides to show Shinra through an Adola link. The next episode starts with Yona reporting on Sho and Shinra's fight, when he's joined by another evangelist named Haumea. Haumea is a blonde girl with a sort of crown covering her eyes, and she's very important to our story. Meanwhile, Sho tells Shinra that the weird place they're in right now is Adola, or as humans know it, Hell, and gets his first look at the person behind it all, the Evangelist.
You look upon the Evangelist, knave.
After that, Sho explains his time stop ability to Shinra. Basically, Sho steals heat from the universe, slowing its expansion and stopping time for everything around him. So, if Shinra wants to catch Sho, he'll have to get past that. And it's not going well. That's when Shinra realizes that Sho is so strong because he has a strong link to Adola, and Shinra needs to get one too. It's not really working though, and Shinra is getting bodied. Sho asks him why he won't give up, and Shinra says it's because he's spent his entire life wishing to see Sho one more time, and now that he's seeing his brother again, he won't give up. With that, Shinra speeds up, and Sho stops time, only to see that Shinra has disappeared. Sho waits a bit, but he can't keep time stopped for too long, and he unfreezes it, only to see Shinra crash into a wall behind him. Sho asks Shinra how he went that fast, but Shinra doesn't know. Shinra then forces Sho to relive their childhood memories through an Adola link before going after him again. And once again, Shinra's behind Sho before he can even react. Licht realizes what's happening. Shinra is moving so fast that his body breaks down into small particles and rejoins when he slows down. Which means Shinra is moving at the speed of light and going back in time just a bit. The reason Shinra can do this is because somehow he's gained the Evangelist's grace, which is some OP stuff. Shinra continues his assault, missing Sho by closer and closer each time. Eventually, Sho stops time before Shinra starts moving, but Shinra's speed helps him break past that too, and he lands a hit on Sho. Sho can't believe it, but Shinra can. Haumea realizes that Shinra has awakened his Adola burst and calls it the 4th generation of pyrokinesis. That's when Sho and Shinra's real fight starts. The battle goes back and forth between two brothers moving faster than time itself, and it is epic. Shinra has taken a lot of damage though, and he's starting to overheat. Licht says that if Shinra overheats while traveling faster than light, he'll die, but Shinra is determined. He is gonna bring his brother back. The next episode starts with Shinra forcing another Adola link on Sho. This time, he shows Sho all kinds of memories. The hardships Shinra faced after his family died, people calling Shinra a devil, Shinra's happiness when he realized Sho was alive, all of it. Sho rejects it all, saying Shinra's petty promise as a child means nothing to him. But Shinra says their childhood was a time when they could both smile effortlessly, and Shinra wants that to be a thing again. Shinra then shows him a memory in which Sho was a baby, and Shinra saved Sho from a newspaper that had fallen on Sho's face. It wasn't much, but it was a memory Sho had forgotten, and it brings him to tears. Shinra hugs Sho, who finally accepts Shinra as a brother, only to see that Shinra has been stabbed with his sword, and that is when Haumea shows up. Sho confronts Haumea, asking her what happened in the fire that killed their mom. Haumea doesn't answer, so Sho tries stopping time, but it doesn't work. The evangelist took his grace away. Haumea then zaps Sho's head, somehow knocking him out and taking control of his body. How does fire help you do something like that? Sho starts walking away, and Haumea tells Shinra they're gonna use all the Adola bursts to trigger another great cataclysm and burn everything for good this time. Luckily, that's when the rest of Company 8 shows up to help. Haumea would have been able to control them all, but Arthur's plasma messes with her electricity. That's when another earthquake hits, and Haumea says the evangelist is behind the earthquakes. The evangelist uses it to escape, while Company 8 grabs a super injured Shinra and takes him to the 6th Company HQ. There, Captain Huang starts operating on him. Turns out Captain Huang heals people using the power of their own flames, and since Shinra's Adola burst is powerful, it'll help him make a full recovery. 3 days later, Shinra wakes up. He's worried about Sho and knows he missed a big chance to get his brother back, and that's when Burns shows up with some food and says they need to talk. After Shinra eats, Burns says he knows what happened in the fire that killed Shinra's mom, and he knew that Sho was alive. Burns says that telling Shinra would have been useless. Shinra's not strong enough. Shinra immediately says he'll prove Burns wrong, and Burns tells him to bring it. The last episode of Season 1 starts with Shinra heading back to Company 8, and everyone there is super happy he's back, even if they don't show it. We then go back to a few weeks ago when Shinra took on Burns. Burns is, well, a monster. He's described as a human furnace. Unlike other third generations who release fire, Burns traps his flames inside himself, giving him insane strength and speed. Shinra tries attacking normally, but it's useless. So he uses the power he gained against Sho to come at Burns, and actually manages to hurt his arm. This proves Shinra has gotten much stronger, so Burns decides to tell him the truth. Lordump time! It was the solar year 186, and a regular day for the Kusakabe family. However, Burns says the evangelists already knew a fire was gonna break out. A young Haumea and her protector, the terrifyingly strong Charon, were nearby, waiting for it. Turns out, the fire was started by Sho's Adola Burst awakening. Before their mom, Mari, could react to save him, she burst into flames and turned into a demon infernal, the same one Shinra saw in the Adola link. Shinra's powers then activated and sent him flying back. While Burns and his men saved Shinra, Haumea controlled the now demon Mari and made her bring Sho to the evangelist. Burns's right eye also started burning up. That will be important later. Burns lied to Shinra back then, in the hopes that he'd never use his powers so that the evangelist would never find out about him. But that didn't work out. Shinra then asked Burns if he'd ever experienced an Adola link, and Burns said he did, and it cost him his right eye. Shinra remembers seeing a flash of Captain Hagu of the 4th Company in one of his visions, and one of the people treating him happened to be Lieutenant Asako Hagu. Captain Hagu's granddaughter. Shinra asked her to introduce him to Captain Hagu, and that is everything that's happened. After reporting all this to Obi, the captain asks what Shinra will do if he finds the demon his mom turned into, and Shinra says he'll find a way to make her human again. And the season ends with the 8th hosting a party and inviting all of their friends. Things are finally starting to look up. Season 2 kicks off with Shinra, Iris, Maki, and Tamaki enjoying a rare day off. They have ice cream, go shopping, and decide to buy some clothes for Lieutenant Hinawa. He has horrible fashion. Unfortunately, this wholesome moment is interrupted when an infernal attacks. Shinra goes to investigate and realizes this isn't an ordinary infernal. This one is huge. What's more, it also shoots giant fireballs from its mouth, and Shinra is about to be cooked until Arthur saves him. The rest of Company 8 shows up too, and they start taking the Infernal on. Leaked tells everyone that the Infernal has multiple cores, one in each limb and one in the center. So Maki, Tamaki, and Hinawa take out the arms, Arthur and Obi take out the legs, and Shinra delivers the killing blow while Sister Iris prays. Special Fire Force Company 8 is back. Rest of the episode's mainly shenanigans. Iris, Maki, Tamaki get Hinawa an insane outfit, and Shinra gets blamed for it. After that, Obi announces that it's time for the Fire Force's yearly nude calendar. It's guys only, and every company gets assigned a month, with the most popular ones reappearing. Company 8 was dead last the previous year, and they're dead last this year too. The next episode starts with Obi telling Shinra he's got a meeting with Captain Hagu. Shinra is a little familiar with the 4th Company since that's where the Fire Soldiers Academy is, and Hagu is waiting for him. Shinra goes with Asako and sees some familiar faces. There's his former instructor, Lieutenant Pert Kopan, as well as his old academy mates Karin and Ogun. Pan then takes Shinra to meet Captain Hagu, who's weird. He asks Shinra to burn him with his flames, saying he wants to experience his Adola burst. Shinra then has another Adola link, where the girl who looks like Iris tries to get him to attack Hagu, taunting him about burns as well. Shinra rejects it, and then asks Hagu if he's ever had an Adola link. Hagu explains that he did in the Great Fire 2 years ago. The scars on his face were his payment, but unlike Shinra, seeing Adola filled Hagu with hope. He calls Adola God's realm, and says the concepts of heaven and hell are just human constructs. That's when Karin bursts into the room and tries to attack Shinra. Turns out Haumea's controlling Karin, and she hoped to get control of Shinra too. But she doesn't have to, because the first pillar, aka the girl who looks like Iris, has established an Adola link with Shinra, and her hate has taken control of him, turning him into a devil. Captain Hagu takes Shinra outside and starts fighting him, while Lieutenant Pan uses his whistle to give Hagu buffs. That's Pan's power, casting different kinds of buffs on people with his whistle. Arthur and Ogun show up too, and they experience firsthand just how dangerous Shinra can be. Luckily, this all plays into Arthur's night fantasy, and he locks in. He starts kicking Shinra's ass, saying he'll give Shinra 3 chances to snap out of it. As Shinra attacks, Ogun asks Arthur why he's so weird. What kind of home did he grow up in? And that's when we get Arthur's backstory. Arthur grew up with his 2 parents, and they were pretty poor. Arthur's dad had a wild imagination, which he passed down to his son. Even though they were poor, Arthur thought they lived in a castle. One day, Arthur's parents just abandoned him, leaving a note saying he was the king of the castle now, and he's been this way ever since. Wait, that is so depressing. But Arthur doesn't let it get him down. Instead, he takes on Shinra, demanding to know what happened to Shinra's dream of being a hero. It takes some convincing, but Arthur finally gets through to Shinra, who wakes himself up by attacking himself. The first pillar then leaves Shinra, but not before telling him that a new pillar is about to be discovered, which means another Adola burst is about to awaken. The next episode starts with Shinra waking up in a hospital bed. He's back to his normal self, and Haumea has let the soldiers she was controlling free too. Haumea then tells her protector Charon that a new pillar is coming, before kicking him in the face. Charon cares about her a lot, and she beats him up a lot. This will be important, trust me. We then see Obi talking to the Fire Defense Agency chief. Obi tells him everything, but the chief says he can't make the entire fire force focus on the white-clad. Company 8 is on its own. We then meet the pink-haired Inca, a schoolgirl who can smell fires before they happen. With her friends, Panda and Sancho, she sniffs out fires before they happen and saves the people affected for a fee. After one such job, Panda asks Inca what kind of pyrokinetic she is. First generation pyrokinetics burst into flames and become infernals. Second generations can control fire, and third generations create it. So, what is someone who can smell fires called? Inca says she must be a new fourth generation pyrokinetic, but she doesn't know for sure. What she does know is that she can see fires before they break out, and that it all started with the Great Fire 2 years ago. It was the first time Inca felt alive, and she's been chasing fires for that same thrill ever since. Kind of an adrenaline junkie. That's when Inca has a vision of the first pillar and realizes there are about to be a whole bunch of fires, and she loves it. Shinra gets a visit from the first pillar too, and Company 8 heads to the location. Apparently, Inca is infamous among the fire force for getting to fires before them, and Obi feels like she might be the fifth pillar. In case you're wondering, every person with an Adola burst is considered a pillar. Right now, there are 4. The first pillar, Shinra, Sho, and Haumea, and Inca might have an Adola burst and be the 5th pillar. Company 8 reaches the place, and all hell is breaking loose. Fires, infernals, they've got their work cut out. Obi sends Shinra to find Inca, while Arthur is gonna look for Haumea. Speaking of Haumea, she's here. Her ability allows her to use heat to generate electromagnetic waves. She can use these waves to read people's minds and control them by implanting thoughts. She uses her waves to locate Inca, and Charon goes after the kid. He kills Sancho and asks Inca to come with him. That's when Inca sees a fire line. But unlike the others she's used to seeing, it has a start point and a goal at the end. Inca traces it, and an explosion hits Charon. She does it again and then runs away from him. Charon tracks her down, and so does Shinra. Shinra starts fighting Charon, but it's useless. It's like his attacks don't even affect Charon at all. Still, Shinra isn't giving up. Episode 4 starts with the rest of Company 8 dealing with the fires and the infernals, and it's just rough. The White-Clad keeps making more infernals, and it's taking everything they have just to keep things under control. Obi says they need to find and stop Haumea, so Maki locates Haumea and tells Arthur where she is. Meanwhile, Shinra faces Charon and tells Inca he'll save her, but Inca says safety's boring and refuses to go with Shinra or Charon. She'll do her own thing. She creates an explosion and escapes, leaving Shinra and Charon to face off. Back with Hinawa, he and Vulcan are facing some infernals when they come across something even scarier, a demon. Vulcan and Hinawa are backed into a corner, and Tamaki can't help because of fan service, so they're screwed until Lieutenant Karim Flam shows up to help. Shinra is outnumbered too, but Toru Kishiri and Juggernaut show up and buy him some time. Shinra goes after Inca, but Charon is on his ass. Shinra then sees Inca, who once again tells him to stay away, and Shinra thinks she's crazy. Bingo. Back with Haumea, Arthur finally finds her, and he's ready to give her the business. Haumea can't send out any orders with him around because his plasma messes with her waves, so she's sick of him. Meanwhile, the 2nd and 5th companies send backup for the 8th, and suddenly they're taking down infernals left and right. All that's left now is the demon. Back with Shinra, he's struggling with Charon. It's clear his high speed has no effect on him, so he decides to use a different kata he learned from Obi, Corna, the sign of the devil. Episode 5 starts with Haumea struggling against Arthur and Shinra getting his ass handed to him by Charon. That's when Shinra realizes something. Up until now, he's been assuming Charon is a third generation since he's been attacking with explosions and stuff, but something's off. So Shinra asks Charon what kind of pyrokinetic he is. While Karim Flam freezes the demon Infernal, stopping it for now, Shinra realizes that Charon is actually a second generation. Charon's power absorbs kinetic energy when someone attacks him, and then he uses that energy to counterattack, and Shinra's having a rough time with it. But after Charon blasts Shinra, he figures it out. At the moment Charon is attacking, he can't absorb any more energy, which means Shinra has to counter Charon's counterattack. With Obi's words in mind, Shinra uses Corna and absolutely unleashes on Charon. Unfortunately though, Charon is still standing. Shinra lets his guard down and Charon attacks him from behind. Meanwhile, the demon breaks free from Karim's ice, and it's getting really hard to contain it. Leaked says that only 2 people have ever taken out demons, Konro and Benimaru, which means they need that level of fire output. Luckily, he comes up with a plan, using all the fire in town and balancing it with the wind to create a fire tornado, aka a firestorm. To do this, all the second generations funnel the fire towards Maki, who's standing at the center of town. Maki does it, and it works. The firestorm is huge, and Hinawa lures the demon to it. Getting it inside is a tough job, but Vulcan and Obi manage to do it using the matchbox. Once the demon is inside the firestorm, Hinawa launches a missile at it, and the entire firestorm acts as the barrel of a gun, speeding up the missile super fast until it hits the demon and takes it out. Karim then turns the firestorm into a huge block of ice, and the threat is over. But the battle is far from done. Charon says Shinra is the first person to ever hurt him, and Shinra promises to do it again. The next episode kicks off with Haumea deciding that they're retreating, so she tells Charon to bring Inca with him. Shinra tells Inca to break free from the Whiteclad, but she doesn't want to. Life is more dangerous with the Whiteclad, and that's what she wants. Charon knocks Shinra out with one final punch, and she leaves with Charon. Panda tries to save Inca, but Inca rewards him by setting him on fire before leaving with Haumea and Charon. This girl is crazy. After that, it's over. Obi knows they failed to save Inca, but is happy they kept the town safe, and super happy that different companies worked together to do it. The town cheers them all as they leave, and Shinra is happy too, even though he's worried about Inca. After that, the captain decides that they need to be proactive in studying Adola bursts. So, they put together a team, which includes Shinra, Arthur, Tamaki, and Leaked. Their mission to investigate the Chinese peninsula outside of the Tokyo Empire. There's been a lot of Adola burst activity there, and the Fire Force is sending the team to check it out. The next day, they all head to the port, and Shinra is super stoked to be going. Ogun, Juggernaut, and Lieutenant Pan are joining them as well. Juggernaut is actually from the Chinese peninsula. So, they get on the ship, Hinawa sees them off, and it's time for an adventure. Episode 7 kicks off with Shinra and the others reaching the Chinese peninsula. There, Juggernaut meets his mom, who tells him about a problem their family has been having. They're potato farmers, and something has been destroying their crops. So, the Fire Force heads off. Along the way, everyone but Leaked enjoys getting high off the natural gas that emits in the area, before they're joined by a talking mole and a giant worm. The worm is chasing the mole, and Juggernaut realizes that this mole is responsible for wrecking his family's potato fields. The giant worm takes priority though, so Shinra and Ogun take it on. Ogun is a third generation as well, and he uses his hoverboard and his flames to fly and launch attacks at his enemies. Pretty darn cool. Shinra and Ogun manage to distract the giant worm long enough and they escape. They then question the talking mole. His name is Scope, and he claims he's from an oasis on the Chinese peninsula. A talking crow named Yata shows up and backs his claim, saying they used to live peacefully in the Oasis until a mysterious gang showed up and forced them out. I think I have an idea on who that could be. Later that night, Ogun and Shinra look into the distance and see a bunch of infernals. Yata says that they've been roaming around since the Great Cataclysm. Since infernals can't die on their own, Shinra wants to put them to rest, but Yata says there are just too many. The next morning, they head on to the Oasis. Shinra goes with Yata and sees that there really is an oasis in the middle of the desert. Yata says it's thanks to the tabernacle, and when Shinra sees it, he recognizes it. The tabernacle is a power plant, just like Amaterasu. Leaked confirms it, and they speculate that an Adola burst must be at its center. This gives Shinra hope. It proves that an Adola burst can give life, not just take it. Yata and Scope take them towards the tabernacle when they're attacked by infernal dogs, aka hellhounds. The gang puts them to rest, and Scope says their leader is way tougher. Suddenly, Shinra has an Adola link. It's coming from inside the tabernacle, and Shinra hears the voice of a woman asking him to protect the forest. The next episode starts with Scope explaining how the Oasis came to be. After the Great Cataclysm, a creepy woman dressed in dark robes appeared. She taught the animals human language, introduced them to fire, and built the tabernacle. She activated it and disappeared, and the tabernacle eventually led to this oasis growing around it. As they talk, regular infernals show up, but these ones can speak. While they fight, Pan pleads with them to live peacefully with the animals, but the infernals refuse. They say the tabernacle isn't a life-giving machine. It's supposed to be used to destroy the world. Shinra connects the dots and realizes that's why Giovanni wanted the key to Amaterasu. The White-Clad are gonna use it to trigger the next Great Cataclysm. We then see the Infernals carrying some stone tablets to their leader, who is a talking demon infernal, Tempeh. Tempeh has built a sort of religious cult around himself and promises to release his followers from their suffering if they listen to him. And his next order is for them to kill Shinra and the others. Speaking of which, they get rid of the infernals they're facing and head inside the tabernacle. Arthur, Pan, and Leaked head inside to investigate, while everyone else stands guard outside. Arthur and his group then see a bunch of stone tablets with numbers written on them, just like the ones Tempeh had. That's when they get locked inside. It's a trap. Outside, Tempeh shows up with his infernals, and the fight is on. Tempeh is way too powerful for Shinra and the others, and Shinra gets blasted by him. They ask Tempeh why he wants to blow the tabernacle up, and it's simple. Tempeh's been alive for 250 years and he's just had enough. But because Tempeh is a demon, no one is powerful enough to kill him. The only thing that could kill him is blowing the tabernacle up, which means if Shinra and the others want to beat him, they need that level of fire output. Shinra wonders if he can somehow get the Evangelist's grace again when he has another Adola link of the lady telling him to save the forest. Inside, Leaked and Pan are having a hard time deciphering what the numbers mean, until Arthur says that they're all the digits of pi. Okay, how in the hell does this idiot know that? Turns out, Arthur only remembers pi because it's apparently a secret code for the Knights of the Round Table. He doesn't know what the numbers are actually used for. Ugh. Typical. Back outside, Shinra and the others manage to take down all the infernals, but Tempeh won't go down. Even using Corna is useless. Tempeh just isn't budging. That's when Shinra gets the Adola link again, and the lady just keeps telling him to protect the forest. It'd be real nice if she actually helped. Back inside, Arthur, Pan, and Leaked make it to the core of the tabernacle, and they sense something alive is inside of it. Leaked sees 8 different arrow-shaped keys for the core, and realizes what the White-Clad's 8 pillars are: sacrifices for the Great Cataclysm. What's more, since there's someone alive with an Adola burst inside the tabernacle, that means there's someone with an Adola burst powering Amaterasu as well. God damn! Outside, Shinra is trying to get the mysterious lady to give him an evangelist-style grace, so Ogun buys time by unleashing his flamey ink. In this mode, Ogun's body is covered with fiery tattoos, and for a while, he can output power that rivals Captain Burns. Ogun starts laying the smackdown on Tempei, and it's awesome! Tamaki and Juggernaut chip in too to make sure Ogun doesn't overheat. While Ogun continues his insane assault, Shinra tries talking to the lady. Scope calls out to her too, and she finally answers. The lady says she has only enough power left to preserve the forest. She can't help Shinra. Shinra insists, so the lady says she can give him Adola's grace, but only for a second. The lady thinks it's useless, but Shinra smiles. A second is all he needs. Episode 10 starts with Shinra getting Adola's grace from the lady, and he locks in. He instantly starts attacking Tempei at the speed of light. As he attacks, Shinra sees Tempei's memories. Tempei survived the Great Cataclysm, but lost everything in it. In his desperation, he traveled to the spatial rift at the edge of the Chinese peninsula, hoping to find some answers there. Tempei couldn't pass through, but that's when the evangelist showed up. Tempei thought she was a god, and she put an infernal bug inside Tempei, turning him into a demon. Shinra realizes that there's no saving Tempei, so he blows the demon up. Wow. As Shinra makes his way back, he asks the lady if she's a being from beyond the spatial rift, like the evangelist. But the lady says she started out life as a human. The evangelist just brought her here. Turns out, this lady didn't build the tabernacle. She just fixed it. It already existed 250 years ago. The lady then explains that all throughout human history, every civilization has had a concept of God, heaven, and hell, and all those religions have been based on visions of Adola that the evangelist showed them. Which means that not only is the Holy Soul religion fake, but that the evangelist has been manipulating things for longer than they can even imagine. Shinra then gets back and visits the core of the tabernacle. He thanks the lady for her help, regroups with Leaked and the others, and they discuss the whole 8 sacrifices thing. After a long night of resting, it's time to say goodbye. Scope thanks Shinra for his help and promises to get stronger to protect his oasis. But Shinra tells him to call if he needs help. After all, Shinra is a hero. That night, Shinra dreams of the first pillar and knows something fishy is up. Leaked says that if there's really a person inside Amaterasu, then the Holy Soul Temple is hiding something. Juggernaut then says goodbye to his family, and they all head home. But no matter what the truth behind Amaterasu is, Shinra says he's gonna save everyone. The next episode starts with Shinra reporting all of their findings to Obi. The fact that the Holy Soul Temple could be lying to everyone disturbs them all, especially Sister Iris. But Obi says they can't say anything for certain yet, and commends them all on completing the mission. We then see Leaked confirm that the numbers on the stone tablet were indeed pi, but he has no idea what that means. Leaked decides it's time to play rough. We then see Benimaru getting a visit from Joker. Joker introduces himself as a dark hero, and he wants Benimaru's help to break into the Holy Soul Temple. Benimaru finds him suspicious, but he knows Joker's onto something. Those Holy Soul bastards are suspicious too. Meanwhile, we see Leaked walking through the rain. He used to be a brilliant scientist at Haijima, but Leaked never bought this religious nonsense. He wanted the truth, and that's when he teamed up with Joker. The next day, Obi tells Shinra that the higher-ups have said they'll have to wait at least 3 years until they can reveal what Shinra and the others learned to the public. It'll cause too much of a panic. Shinra is mad, but Leaked isn't worried, because Benimaru and Joker are about to break into the Holy Soul Temple. Joker says he wants the real scripture, the one the Holy Soul Temple has been hiding. Inside, Raffles III explains to his disciples that there were many religions before the Great Cataclysm, and that praying to Soul has brought peace and prosperity to the Tokyo Empire. Yeah, right. Anyway, Raffles III makes it clear that he has an issue with Benimaru and Asakusa, who refuse to accept the Holy Soul Temple, and his issue is gonna get a lot worse, because Benimaru and Joker are at his front door. Benimaru and Joker take down the guards easily, until one of them hits Benimaru with a poison dart, and Benimaru passes out. Unfortunately for that asshole, Benimaru gets right back up and takes him out. Even poison doesn't affect this guy. He really is a monster. Joker and Benimaru then fight their way into the temple. It's empty, but Joker reveals a secret passage that leads to the Nether. Benimaru has had enough and asks Joker why he knows all this. So Joker says he used to work for the Holy Soul Temple. As they go deeper, they're greeted by the Holy Soul Temple's shadows, an elite group of assassins working for the temple, and Joker used to be one of them. We then see Joker's backstory. He was an orphan, like every member of the Shadows, and super talented, but his commander hated that and beat Joker senseless to make sure he knew he wasn't special. Poor Joker just had one thing to remember his parents by, a watch, so his commander took that away too. He then beat Joker up again before defiling him in other ways too. Yeah, this ain't no fairy tale. Then, the day Shinra's mom died and Shoal was kidnapped, Joker escaped the Shadows. He was taken in by a kind family, and he lived with them for a bit until the Shadows killed them. Ever since then, Joker's been a lone ranger, and now he's back and desperate for revenge. He takes on the commander, while Benimaru takes on the rest of them. They're strong, but when you're up against the destruction god of Asakusa, it doesn't matter. Everyone is weak compared to the GOAT.
You're not gonna start crying over one stupid arm.
Meanwhile, Joker takes on his former commander. It starts off tough, and it looks like Joker's on the back foot for most of it, but that was just Joker messing around. He screws the commander's head with a psychedelic before chopping his arm off. The commander says some about unity or whatever, but Joker low-key slimes him in an instant, finally getting his revenge.
You rotten! These days, I've got a hell of a lot more than 52 cards on hand.
But that was just the appetizer. The main course just walked in, and his name is Captain Burns. The next episode starts with Burns saying he's not looking for a fight. In fact, he's here to help Joker. Benimaru asks how they know each other, so Joker explains. Burns used to act as a liaison between the public and private forces of the Holy Soul Temple, and he looked out for Joker. One day, there was an outbreak of infernals at Amaterasu. Burns and Joker cleared most of them out, but when they faced the last one, they both experienced an Adola link at the same time. They saw Adola and the Evangelist, and it cost each of them an eye. Burns then gives Joker something. The diary of the wife of Raffles I. Burns says there are no hidden scriptures, but this diary is important. According to it, after finding the unsullied flame, aka the Adola burst, Raffles was the only person in his party who returned. And though he looked the same, his wife writes that he never acted the same. It was almost like he was a different person. Benimaru then mentions Yona and how he can change people's faces. But all of this happened 250 years ago. Can anyone even live that long? Well, yeah, Yona can. While this conversation is happening, Yona tells Inca that he disguised himself as Raffles I and created the Holy Soul religion on the Evangelist's orders. Back with Joker, he says he's gonna ditch the Holy Soul Temple and investigate Haijima Industries next. After that, we see some Haijima employees super stoked about a new test subject, and that subject is Nataku, the orange-haired kid who survived Reika's infernal bug. Back at the 8th, Shinra walks into the kitchen and sees Lisa there. She's joining them until she recovers. After realizing that the Holy Soul Temple is a sham, they decide to go after Haijima Industries. Since Giovanni was a part of Haijima, they probably have something to do with the Evangelist. One problem. Around 70% of the Tokyo Empire works for Hajime in one way or another. They don't even know where to start looking. Luckily for them, Leaked has been called into Hajime for a meeting. The president rips into Leaked for being too honest in his report on the Chinese peninsula, and then tells him to bring Shinra to the lab. And as soon as Leaked does that, they plan to kill him. The next episode starts with Shinra telling his buddies that he used to be at a Hajime facility when he was a kid too. After Shinra got his powers, he couldn't control them, so Hajime took him in, and Shinra says that they were some cold-blooded bastards. That's when Leaked shows up and calls everyone for a meeting. Leaked announces that he's a Hajime spy, but everyone already knew that. He then explains that when Shinra was with Hajime, they failed to identify his flame as an Adola burst. Because of this, they've started testing more viciously, and kids are getting hurt. What's more, Hajime wants Shinra back now. Obi knows this is suspicious, but Shinra says that he refuses to do nothing while kids get hurt. So Obi says they're all gonna go investigate Hajime. Speaking of Hajime, we see Nataku undergoing a combat test. His opponent? Yuichiro Kurono, a man with a charred right arm, who doesn't look human and doesn't act like it either. Kurono is in charge of combat training the kids at this Hajime facility, and he does not go easy on them. He tells Nataku to give it his all or he'll end up in a body bag. Poor Nataku sees visions of Reika pushing him on, and he starts fighting Kurono. Nataku is a third generation who can make flames come out of his right arm. He turns them into claws and charges Kurono, but just gets a beating. Kurono's right arm is suffering from the tephrosis sickness, but he keeps using it anyway. He's a psycho. The test is over, and we get a glimpse of why Kurono does this for a living. He loves bullying the weak. Yeesh. After that, Shinra and Leaked make their way to Hajime. Shinra remembers seeing Kurono as a kid and remembers how scary he was. As Shinra and Leaked enter the facility, the man escorting them says that Nataku isn't here, but Shinra sees Nataku in an Adola link. That boy is here alright. As they leave, a purple-eyed girl watches them closely and smiles. Shinra then makes it to the training room, and his fight with Kurono is on. Kurono releases some black smoke and Shinra takes damage. Shinra attacks using his high-speed kicks, but Kurono manages to dodge them all. Turns out, the black smoke is an extension of Kurono's senses. He can sense Shinra coming and dodge him appropriately. Not only that, but Kurono can concentrate the smoke to make weapons and attack with them, as well as using the smoke as a, smokescreen. The scientists say they've seen enough, but Kurono blocks their view with smoke and tells Shinra they're gonna keep fighting. I don't like him. Episode 15 starts with the alarm going off. Apparently, an Adola burst is being sensed in Nataku's room. Meanwhile, Leaked tells Obi they're in trouble, so the rest of the 8th breaks in using the matchbox. Meanwhile, Leaked helps Shinra out of the combat room, and they try to reach Nataku. Unfortunately, Kurono gets there before them. Back with the rest of the 8th, their matchbox gets flipped over by a little puppet called Dominion. It belongs to the girl from before. She's called the Puppeteer, and she designs some crazy mechs for Hajime. Maki tries attacking Dominion with Tekio, but it's one tough son of a gun. The Puppeteer and Vulcan then get into a philosophical debate about how to treat their creations. Just nerds being nerds. Maki locks in and uses her full output to take Dominion down. Unfortunately, there are a lot more where that came from.
What makes you think you beat me? Seriously?
Meanwhile, Obi and the others make it to Shinra and Leaked. Kurono is in front of them, still holding Nataku hostage. Kurono senses weaklings coming from the 8th ranks, and he's desperate to attack them. Meanwhile, Nataku keeps seeing visions of Reika urging him to unleash his power. That's PTSD right there. Kurono tries attacking Iris, but everyone saves her. They call Kurono out for being a sick bastard, and Kurono says his philosophy is simple. simple. The weak should die, and the strong should live. Things are about to get crazier though. The White Clad are here. Charon's there, along with Inca and her blue-haired protector, Ritsu. They've identified Nataku as the 6th pillar, and they're here to get him. Kurono starts fighting Charon and tries to figure out why his attacks won't work. Meanwhile, Haumea and Arrow join Maki and the Puppeteer. Haumea wrecks all the Dominions with her electromagnetic waves, and the Puppeteer gets mad. So she brings out Punisher Dominion, and it is cool. The next episode starts with Maki, Haumea, and the Puppeteer in a 3-way match. Maki switches her focus to Arrow and beats her up. Haumea gets mad and electrocutes Arrow, telling her to lock in. Meanwhile, Nataku is captured by the white-clad goons, but Kurono is too busy attacking Tamaki and Iris to care. Shinra and Arthur hold him off, while Inca and Ritsu are planning something devious. Kurono gets sick of fighting with Arthur, so he takes out the white-clad goons and gets Nataku back. Shinra, Arthur, Kurono, Charon, Obi, and Hinawa all fight to get Nataku in their possession. That is when Ritsu appears. She turns a guard into an infernal, then makes the bodies around her fuse with the infernal to create a giant one.
It looks like the corpses are attacking the infernal.
The giant infernal takes Nataku and fuses with him, and that's when Kurono gets a call from his boss. The boss calls him an idiot and tells him to secure Nataku. Kurono is annoyed, but being a salaryman is tough, so he tells Shinra he'll work with him to free Nataku. Meanwhile, Haumea decides to mess with Nataku, so she leaves Arrow with Puppeteer and Maki. Haumea then uses her waves to mess with Nataku's mind, maxing out Reika's influence and sending him over the edge. Nataku now has stars in his eyes, and we can see a little Reika in his mouth, showing the influence he has on Nataku. It's really messed up stuff. Nataku unleashes his power, which takes the form of radioactive fire blasts. The regular humans evacuate, while the pyrokinetics keep at it. Kurono realizes Nataku and this giant infernal are strong. So strong, he starts considering a career change. That's when Shinra's almost hit by one of Nataku's lasers, but Charon saves him. Charon says that his job is to protect all the pillars, and that includes Shinra. Meanwhile, Vulcan gets Arthur on top of the matchbox and uses some night fantasy to get Arthur to stick Excalibur with it. Using his plasma, Vulcan sends out an EMP that shuts down all devices in the area, and it messes with Haumea's waves. Haumea then tries to attack Arthur, but Maki and Puppeteer stop her, so Arrow starts shooting at him, while Vulcan maneuvers the matchbox. The next episode starts with Charon protecting Shinra, who tries attacking the Nataku Infernal, but it's way too hard for him to break through. That's when Shinra has an Adola link with Nataku, and he sees Nataku's life. The poor kid's parents put an unreasonable amount of pressure on him from a young age. First, to get perfect grades, and then to be a perfect pyrokinetic. And all that pressure, combined with the PTSD from Reika, makes the kid go nuclear. Literally, he charges up a blast with enough radiation to wipe out 500 kilometers of land, and he launches it. That's when Charon steps in, soaks up every inch of the blast, and unleashes it, sending it to the moon.
That's why I have no other choice! I will protect the pillars, even if it costs me my life!
And the reason Charon managed to power through is because he cares about Haumea very much. Aww. After that, Kurono decides that Nataku has gotten too strong, so Kurono gets serious. He chops off the Infernal's right arm before chopping off its legs too. Nataku screams, begging Kurono to let him become stronger. Nataku says that he can do it. He can live up to everyone's expectations. But as Kurono breaks him free from the Inferno, he tells Nataku he should stay weak. Why? Because that's what kids are supposed to be, weak and fragile. Nataku feels a burden lifted off of him. For the first time ever, someone is telling him it's okay to not live up to some big expectations. And the poor kid just starts crying. Charon tells Shinra that this does look weird, but the reality is that this dynamic is the best thing for Nataku. In fact, Charon calls Kurono Nataku's protector and leaves with Inka and Ritsu. After that, Leaked, Shinra, and Obi get called in for a meeting with the president of Haijima. Needless to say, he's mad. But so is Shinra. They talk, and Shinra asks whether the president knew there was someone inside Amaterasu. The president says he did. It was a necessary sacrifice to ensure everyone's safety in the Tokyo Empire. What's more, the entire reason they're conducting experiments here is to find another Adola burst so they can build another Amaterasu. That's when Vulcan bursts in and gives the president his idea of a power source greater than Amaterasu. The president agrees to give Vulcan all the tools he needs, and it looks like Haijima doesn't really have ties with the Evangelist. Meanwhile, Nataku is training with Kurono again, but this time he looks happy. Reika is still in the back of his mind though. The next episode starts with Company 8 taking out an Infernal. Routine stuff. However, it's clear Iris is starting to doubt her faith. Later, Obi sends Shinra with Iris to the baptism church to baptize all of their weapons. Shinra enjoys spending time with Iris. He's got a massive crush on her. While Iris gets the weapons baptized, Shinra meets Lieutenant Hoyan Lee and they talk. Hoyan mentions how people in the Fire Force have stopped baptizing their weapons ever since they heard that the Evangelist might be behind the religion. Regardless, Hoyan says he chooses to believe. Why? Because everybody needs to believe in something real. After that, Shinra accompanies Iris, and they pray at the graves of all the friends Iris and Hibana lost in the fire when they were kids. Shinra asks if the whole Evangelist thing is bothering her, and she says it is. That's when one of the priests at the church turns into an Infernal. Shinra lays him to rest, but the sister that was with the priest starts crying her eyes out, asking why God did this to a man who prayed every single day. It's some really messed up stuff. After that, Iris and Shinra continue their conversation, and while Iris's faith is wavering, Shinra reminds her that everyone at the 8th looks to her to support them in battle. Without her, they'd all be lost. She is their sunflower. She shows them where the light is. Shinra then carries Iris back to HQ, but he can't get one thing out of his mind. The first pillar looks a lot like Iris. The rest of the episode is white-clad knight assault going after Tamaki and being defeated by her lucky lesser lure. And nobody wants to see that, so moving on. The next episode starts with us seeing General Danro Oze, Maki's dad. Maki's back home for the first time in a while, and her family has dinner together. Her mom, Madoka, is there, as well as her brother, Takigi. Takigi is a second-generation pyrokinetic in the Army's Criminal Investigation Department, and he asks Maki about the Nether. Why? Because the following day, Takigi and his partner are investigating it. They make their way inside and find something disturbing, a white-clad lab full of infernal bugs. They then see a white-clad member who blows himself and the lab up. Takigi survives, but he's hurt in the process. That was the last straw for General Danro. He calls up Captain Honda of the 2nd and plans a mission into the Nether. Company 8 is called in as well, since they have experience with the Nether, but General Danro has one more request. He asks Maki to join the military again and leave the the Fire Force. Maki says she's not leaving, but when Hinawa says she should go, Maki is stunned. Just like that, Maki leaves, and the 8th is having a hard time coping. Poor Arthur is in straight up denial. Maki is back at the military and super upset. Hinawa told her to go back because things were getting too dangerous for Daddy's little princess. Harsh. She makes it clear to her dad that she's upset, but he says the white-clad business was way too dangerous. Meanwhile, Company 8 meets with Captain Honda and devises a plan. Since the 8th has experience with the Nether, each member will accompany a different squadron of the 2nd, and they'll all investigate different parts of the Nether at the same time. Seems good enough for me. Episode 20 starts with the mission commencing. Shinra is with Lieutenant Hebio, Arthur is with Lieutenant Heckler, and Hinawa is joined by Takigi, who hates his guts. Tamaki is in the same squad as Juggernaut and platoon leader Hajiki, and they're the first ones to get attacked. Meanwhile, Vulcan, Iris, and Obi are with Captain Honda, and they see a whole army of infernals. The blue-haired Ritsu's the one controlling them. Ritsu is one sick woman. She uses the infernals to kill the fire soldiers before taking control of the fire soldiers' corpses and using them against their own friends. Everyone is in a bunch of trouble, including Leaked, who's just running away from gunfire. Hajiki helps protect Juggernaut and Tamaki from the infernals using his thermal vision, only to have his head chopped off by a white-clad. Her name is Orochi, and she uses a super fast fire whip to attack. She begins beating Tamaki senseless, and Tamaki calls out to Shinra to save her. That's when someone knocks back Orochi. But it's not Shinra, it's Juggernaut, and he is mad. Not only did Orochi hurt the girl he likes, but she just killed his mentor and friend Hajiki, and he won't back down now. While Juggernaut fights Orochi, he thinks about how he's been a coward all of his life. He never wanted to be a fire soldier, and he didn't have the courage to ask Tamaki out, but his mom convinced him to join the Fire Force so he could help people. He remembers the time Hajiki told him to believe in himself, as well as his advice about being a soldier and talking to girls. Juggernaut is fired up, and Orochi is in trouble. She keeps attacking him and manages to deal some good damage, but Juggernaut is relentless, and he makes a whole-ass bomb out of his flames and detonates it on Orochi's face. This guy is a monster! The following episode starts with Juggernaut in bad shape. He thanks Tamaki. Her being there gave him the courage to do what he had to. Juggernaut then passes out, and Tamaki promises to protect him from the infernals and save him. Meanwhile, Hinawa and Takigi are up against the white-clad named Iron, and he's one beefed up musclehead. We then see Shinra on his own before he runs into Dr. Giovanni. But Giovanni isn't the same as before. He's experimented on himself using bugs, and now he has all sorts of bug-like powers to help him. These include large insect legs, which he uses to attack Shinra and other fire soldiers. We then cut to Arthur, who's protecting his squad from infernals. After he's done there, Arthur joins Shinra, and they take on Giovanni. Meanwhile, Hinawa and Takigi are figuring out how to take down Iron. He's freakishly strong, and he got that way by heating the iron in his body and making it stronger. While they fight Iron, Hinawa and Takigi argue about Maki. Takigi blames Hinawa for putting her through hell, saying she's a delicate girl. But Hinawa disagrees before shooting Iron in all of his joints, taking him down. Back with Tamaki, she's having a hard time holding off all the infernals, and things get worse when two white-clads show up. They almost kill Tamaki, but Captain Honda saves her. Obi then takes down one of the white-clad, while Honda takes down the other. These captains are no joke. Leaked eventually runs into them all, and Vulcan tells him that the sensors are picking up infernals moving in a pattern. That's when Leaked realizes what Ritsu is doing. This whole thing was a trap to lure the Fire Force in and bury them underground. And thanks to the dead fire soldiers, Ritsu can do just that. Episode 22 starts with Shinra and Arthur fighting Giovanni, and this dude is a problem. As they fight, Giovanni says the Tokyo Empire and everything in it was built according to the Evangelist's plan. Giovanni then says that the Evangelist will destroy the world because every human actually just wants to die. Keep that in mind. It'll be very important later. Shinra then asks Giovanni where Sho is, and we see him. Haumea has turned him into a mindless doll, and she's putting makeup on him while she forces Arrow to watch. Damn. Meanwhile, Shinra uses his super high speed to attack Giovanni, who's impressed. Shinra says he sensed Giovanni's bloodlust once before in an Adola link, and Giovanni starts celebrating this. Apparently, you can only have Adola links with people who either have Adola bursts or who have a link with Adola. Giovanni says this proves his research has brought him closer to Adola, and he's delighted. Meanwhile, Leaked explains that Ritsu is setting the infernals up in a pattern to maximize the blast's output, and since they're right below the center of the Tokyo Empire, the explosion might just destroy the entire thing. Takigi says they need a second generation to control the blast, but the only one strong enough is Maki. Luckily, Vulcan filled Maki in on everything that's happening, and she shows up in the nick of time. Takigi tries arguing with her, but Maki's not having it, so Takigi helps her instead. He is a second generation too, you know? Ritsu blows the infernals up, and the Oze siblings use their powers to direct the heat way underground. Eventually, the ground's coolness extinguishes the flames, and everyone is saved. But Maki is nonchalant about it all. After all, this is what the 8th does. You tell him, girl. Back with Shinra, Arthur manages to empty his mind of all thoughts and strike Giovanni from behind, cutting him in half.
Non-self.
When did he?
So much for that plan.
Nirvana.
That's goofy and impressive, but Giovanni is far from human, and he uses bugs as a smokescreen to escape. Meanwhile, Maki has convinced Hinawa to take her back in the 8th, something Takigi isn't a huge fan of. Everyone makes it outside, and Juggernaut's gonna be okay. He did lose an arm and a leg, but he'll survive. Shinra is worried about something though. If only people who experienced Adola can experience an Adola link, what does that mean about Conro? After all, Shinra had an Adola link with him back in Season 1. For now though, Maki is back at the 8th, and everyone is happy again. The next episode starts with Shinra reporting all of his findings to Obi. Hibana is there too, and says that Conro is kinda sus. But Shinra disagrees, and says he's going to Asakusa to talk to Conro. Hibana joins him, and they find Conro standing with a white-clad. Turns out, this white-clad was following him for days and wants to kill Conro. Conro may be suffering from typhrosis, but he's still a badass. So, he takes the white-clad down. Shinra then asks Conro if he's ever experienced an Adola burst, and Conro says that he has. It was back when Conro took on the demon. Conro says the demon was weird. It was almost like fighting a mirror image of himself. After Conro took the demon out, that's when he had a vision of Adola. Hibana then shares a theory about doppelgangers, mirror images of humans. She says she'll look into that. After that, Benimaru decides to train Shinra some more. Shinra brings Arthur and Tamaki too. Tamaki says she wants to get stronger, so she isn't a burden to her friends anymore. Benimaru wants to test her, so he tells her to play tag with Hinata and Hikage. Tamaki has to stay away from them for 1 whole minute. Sounds easy, but Hinata and Hikage are 3rd generation pyrokinetics, and Tamaki's having a hard time. While Benimaru ties Arthur and Shinra over a couple of fires, classic Benimaru, Tamaki is struggling with Hinata and Hikage, and Tamaki starts reliving her memories. Tamaki just became a fire soldier and a sister on a whim. It's what was popular and what people wanted her to do. But now, she's got the resolve to be stronger. Tamaki locks in and starts outpacing the twins, so they bring out their true power. Tamaki thinks about how she was bullied for her Lucky Lesher lure, and how the people at the 8th accepted her. Tamaki then unlocks her new form and decides she isn't gonna run away anymore. She blasts through Hinata and Hikage, and just like that, the minute is up. Benimaru praises her, saying she has a habit of suppressing her own power, but now that she's got some self-confidence, the sky's the limit for her. And Arthur and Shinra are still getting cooked by fire. The last episode of Season 2 starts with Arthur and Shinra going through hell. Benimaru has dragged them around town, drowned upside down, and swung around like they're part of an amusement park. Why? Because he wants to teach them hysterical strength, the ability to reach beyond your limits and use all of your potential. To do that, Benimaru takes them to the brink of death, and then they start fighting. Arthur and Shinra give it their all, but can't land a hit on Benimaru. After whooping their asses for 5 straight hours, this is what Benimaru says.
We haven't even started yet. Get up. Your training begins now.
Jesus Christ. While Hibana shows up with Captain Huang of the 6th to test Konro, Benimaru beats the last breaths out of Shinra and Arthur. Shinra tries attacking again, but feels the life fading away from him. That's when Shinra sees a vision. His house burning down, and the demon version of his mom holding Sho. Shinra realizes he's at his limit, but knows he has to keep fighting. At that moment, Shinra's survival instincts kick in. He unlocks something beyond the breath of life, the press of death. As Shinra starts heating up, Benimaru smiles. They're getting somewhere now. Meanwhile, Captain Huang says Konro's flame is nothing special, so something else must have caused him to see Adola. Konro mentions that Captain Hagu has also seen Adola, and Hibana and Huang try to get him, but it's too late. Hagu is facing one of the White-Clad, and by the time Lieutenant Pon finds him, Hagu is already dead. While Pon mourns him, both Shinra and Arthur unlock hysterical strength, and Benimaru says that's enough for one day. But Shinra also has an Adola link, and he sees Captain Hagu being killed. The next day is Hagu's funeral, and the higher-ups chalk it down to a suicide. Benimaru tells Konro not to go anywhere alone, and Captain Burns' men are worried about him too. But Burns says this is a test from God, and that the first company needs to serve as an example to all the other companies. We then see the White-Clads, ready for action. This includes Sho, who's finally back outside, and they're up to no good. Back at the 8th, they celebrate how they've built connections with every company, and now they're all working together to take down the White-Clad. One feel-good ending sequence later, we see Haumea. She's grabbing her head in pain. She says she sees it all, and that the Empire will become as it rightfully should be. And the season ends with the moon changing its shape into something that'll look very familiar to fans of Soul Eater. Season 3 kicks off with Haumea still screaming in pain before she just stops. Charon is worried about her, but she doesn't want to hear it. Whatever's making her scream is clearly important. We then see Company 8 doing some combat training, while Obi gives a full report to the chief of the Fire Defense Agency. He congratulates Obi on a good job when members of the Imperial forces come and arrest Obi. But that's not the biggest surprise. That comes when some White-Clad members walk into the office.
What is the White-Clad doing here?
Back at the 8th, Arthur and Shinra's rivalry is as heated as ever. They've all gotten stronger, and they're enjoying themselves when the alarm goes off. Meanwhile, Captain Burns and his men are summoned by Raffles III. They go there, and Raffles III says it's time to unite the Empire as one, with the help of the White Clad. Behind him, the Pillars and their protectors show up. Burns and his men are furious. They're ready to throw down right now, but Haumea starts talking to Burns. She tells them about their plan to turn the Earth into another sun, how this is the will of God. Then, she gets into Burns' head. Haumea says she knows Burns has witnessed the Evangelist and Adola before, and that he knows she is God. Burns is overcome by his experiences, and in a shocking twist, he bends the knee to Haumea and the Evangelist. We then see Company 8 learn that Obi has been arrested, and they're furious. Since the army officially took him in, Hinawa says going after Obi would make them all traitors, and they do not give a damn. They are gonna save Captain Obi no matter what. The episode ends with Burns talking to Haumea, and their plan is simple. Use Obi to lure out Shinra and turn Obi into an infernal. The next episode starts with Shinra having an Adola link with Burns, and he finds out what they're going to do to Obi. Hinawa remembers his conversation with Obi when they first started the 8th, and how Obi is like a father figure to the company. With that, they all jump into the matchbox and head out. Meanwhile, Obi is in prison doing push-ups. Classic Captain Obi. Outside, Company 8 has been branded as traitors, and the media says they were hiding Shinra and his Adola burst. But everyone who knows them, like Ogun, Hibana, Konro, and Benimaru, knows that that is some. The army is on the lookout for the 8th, and they don't have anywhere to hide. That is, until Leaked introduces them to Joker. Leaked explains that they're dark heroes who operate in the shadows and have plenty of experience running from the law. Shinra is hesitant to trust Joker, but they have no choice. So, the 8th joins forces with Joker. Joker and Leaked take them to their hideout in an abandoned sewer. There, they discuss their next move. Thankfully, Joker knows where Obi is being held, Fuchu Penitentiary. We then see Burns talking to Haumea again. Burns explains that he accepted the White Clad because he felt God's presence from the Evangelist, and Obi, like many others, is a necessary sacrifice on God's path. Back with the 8th, Joker and Shinra set out to the prison at full speed, while the others follow. Along the way, Arthur fantasizes about killing a dragon. Careful what you wish for there, bud. Obi is then visited by Gold, the white-clad destroyer who killed Captain Hagu. She has an infernal bug, and she plans to give it to him soon. Meanwhile, Shinra asks Joker why he's helping them. Joker says he's been in the shadows for a long time, so he knows true light when he sees it, and Captain Obi is that light. The Empire needs him. Joker says Shinra has that light too, he just doesn't know it yet. As Obi is prepped for sacrifice, Shinra and Joker break in. It's about to go down. The next episode kicks off with Shinra and Joker seeing Burns standing on a roof. Burns explains his whole evangelist awakening thing to them before bringing out Obi, who's chained up. Shinra can't believe Burns is doing this, but he has no time to argue, so Joker and Shinra start fighting Burns. Burns activates his Voltage Nova, the form in which he traps heat inside him and becomes stronger. He's in stage 1 now, and the longer Voltage Nova is activated, the stronger Burns gets. While Shinra and Joker take him on, Haumea returns underground to continue doing whatever it is that's causing her so much pain. And again, Charon is super worried. Lieutenant Karim thinks what Burns is doing is insane, and Hoyan doesn't disagree. He's just willing to put his faith in God. Meanwhile, Company 8 accidentally drops Arthur from the matchbox, but no one notices because they're all fired up. We then learn from Gold what Haumea is doing. She's taking in the collective unconscious. That means Haumea is experiencing the subconscious thoughts and desires of every human on the planet, and it's brutal. Charon can't stand to watch it, but Yona says it's a beautiful thing. Sicko. We then see Captain Hibana, who's knee-deep in her research. She knows the fire that killed her and Iris's friends was caused by someone. She doesn't know why though, or how it ties in with the doppelganger theory. Hinawa and the rest of Company 8 then break into the prison and face Gold and some other white-clad members. With no Arthur, Tamaki leads the fight. She's not a scaredy cat anymore. They fight, and Gold seems to have a strange ability. She has some sort of heat coming from her right arm, and she uses it to deflect and control Hinawa's bullets, sending them back at him. While Leaked and Vulcan work overtime to discover what her ability is, Shinra and Joker watch as Burns enters Stage 2 of Voltage Nova. Things are quite literally heating up. Episode 4 starts with Tamaki and the others still fighting Gold, and Vulcan and Leaked are still figuring out her abilities. Maki then attacks her with Tekio, but Gold stops them. Leaked then explains that Gold is using heat from her gold-plated right arm to create a magnetic field, and she's using the 8th's weapons against them. Hinawa's guns are useless too, so it's up to Tamaki, and Tamaki uses a special thermite ball Vulcan made for her to unleash a giant ball of hellish fire.
Giant fireball coming at ya!
But when the dust clears, Gold is unaffected. She's very resistant to fire. She then whoops Tamaki around by controlling her belt, so everyone in the company ditches their pants to avoid being controlled by her. Unfortunately, Gold has lost control of Tekio. That's when Lisa steps in. She's done waiting on the sidelines. Her lava tentacles have magnetism to them too, so she uses them to buy her friends some time. Meanwhile, Leaked comes up with a plan. Cover Gold's right arm with iron, stopping her power and giving Hinawa a chance to take her down. They do this by having Tamaki melt iron with her powers, and she then tosses it onto Gold's right arm. Her powers stop, and Hinawa never misses.
Hold on.
But while Gold is down, other white-clad members are there to step up. Up next is Stream, the white-clad who uses heat to manipulate and attack with the wind. Stream is about to hurt Hinawa when Arthur shows up. Stream gets ready to face him, but a loser like him is nothing against the Night King. Badass as always. Back with Shinra, Burns tells him that the evangelist has shown him the truth he spent his whole life searching for, and he accepts it. He then puts the infernal bug up against Obi, and it crawls inside his clothes. The next episode starts with everyone watching on as Obi screams and tears his shirt off because of his muscles. Yeah, Obi is in peak human condition. He breaks free from his restraints and starts flexing his muscles, and his body is so chiseled, the insect can't get inside. Company 8 starts cheering him on as he poses, and it's as hilarious as it is inspiring.
Have you been lifting matchboxes lately or what?
Those kicks are totally popping!
While everyone else does that and Shinra faces Burns, Arthur senses something, or rather, someone. That someone is another destroyer of the white-clad, except this one is on a different level. He's massive, looks evil as hell, and his name makes Arthur's ears perk up. He's called Dragon. Arthur has been waiting his whole life to face a dragon, and his night fantasies take over. He swings at Dragon, causing a big explosion, and Arthur thinks that he's won, only to get smacked away. Not only did that not affect him, none of Arthur's attacks do. Arthur goes deeper and deeper into his fantasy, and Excalibur gets stronger and stronger, but Dragon doesn't even have a scratch on him. Still, Dragon is impressed by Arthur. He calls Arthur a true master of his sword. Arthur takes damage every time he attacks Dragon, while Dragon doesn't even move a muscle. Dragon eventually strikes Arthur back and starts growing scales like a real dragon. Leaked says these scales are made of the same materials as infernals. This should be impossible. While Karim Flam finds out Reika has some sort of connection to doppelgangers, Hibana realizes there must be a connection between doppelgangers and spontaneous human combustion. But what? Back with Arthur, his fantasy is growing stronger, but so is Dragon. Arthur uses his full output and attacks Dragon only for him to destroy Excalibur and defeat Arthur. No. He is in the full shape of a dragon now, and he looks unbeatable. Meanwhile, Burns says he won't dodge any of Shinra or Joker's attacks. He'll take them head on because that is his duty. So, Shinra kicks him down through the building, but Burns is unaffected. Burns tells Shinra he'll have to get stronger if he wants to change the way things are, and enters Stage 4 of Voltage Nova. Oh boy. Episode 6 starts with Joker and Shinra still fighting Burns. Burns then remembers his childhood. He was always a devout follower of God and always prayed, even after he had his Adola Link. Back then, Joker called him crazy for still praying. He knew there was no God to answer their prayers. But Burns knew that it wasn't God, but the act of praying that brought many people peace. And now, through his prayers, he's found an answer in the form of the Evangelist. Burns takes Shinra's attacks head on, saying an old man like him can't change anything. If anyone's gonna change something, it'll be Shinra, but he'll have to earn it by surpassing Burns. Shinra gets some good hits in and does some damage, but Burns gets the upper hand and starts punching him over and over again. It is brutal. Joker tries to intervene, but he knows this is something Shinra's gotta do by himself. Shinra then locks in and goes all out. With him being near his limit, Shinra uses the Press of Death and unlocks his hysterical strength. His flames go blue, and Shinra attacks Burns with all he's got. Burns says whatever he's doing is the will of God, and Shinra says Burns won't be able to stop his kick. Not even God can stop him. Shinra breaks through Burns' guard and kicks him, only for Burns to activate Stage 5 of Voltage Nova.
Voltage Nova.
Burns is basically a lion made of fire, and Shinra is feeling the pressure. Still, Shinra has the belief in himself and promises to pull through. He unleashes everything and delivers an animation-breaking kick to Burns. As Burns collapses, he tells Shinra he's done well. He's proven he's worthy of changing the world. Burns says his job was to test Shinra. All the old man can do is prepare the youth for their battles. And that's when Burns is stabbed by a demon infernal. But it's not just any demon, it's Burns' doppelganger. Meanwhile, Dragon unleashes a blast on Company 8, but thankfully they survive. Everyone thinks Maki saved them, but Leaked is looking at Iris. Keep that in mind. Anyway, Joker carries Shinra to safety, while Burns is dragged into Adola by his doppelganger. And in the end, Captain Burns prays, as he always does. Damn. Outside, Company 8 is surrounded by Haumea, Charon, and the White Clad. It looks bad until someone shows up to help them. The mysterious hero named Moonlight Mask, who everyone knows is Benimaru. Apparently, Benimaru was told to do this by Konro because he didn't want to put Asakusa at odds with the Empire, but it's a horrible disguise since Benimaru is using all of his regular abilities. With Benimaru's help, Shinra, Obi, and the rest of the 8th escape. Benimaru checks out Charon and Dragon a bit before he leaves too, and he knows they're both strong. Haumea is happy though. Apparently everything went according to plan, and another pillar has awakened. But who? While Arthur and Shinra get treatment, Obi fills Benimaru and Konro in on everything. Obi predicts that Shinra and the 8th will be blamed for Burns' death, and sure enough, that's what happens. But Karim isn't buying it. He knows something's fishy. Karim and Hoyan then think about Burns' last words. He told them it was their job to shape the way forward, and he left the first company to them. Karim and Hibana then decide separately to visit the place where Hibana and Iris grew up, St. Raffles Convent. The convent used to be a nice place where over 100 orphans were trained to become sisters and cared for by Sister Sumire. Hibana goes there with Kishiri, wondering if she'll find the secrets behind human combustion and doppelgangers here, and she can't help but relive her childhood memories. As Hibana starts investigating, she finds an empty space between the convent. Karim and Hoyan show up, open the entrance, and go inside together. They find a library filled with books about plants and insects. To Hoyan and Karim, this looks like regular stuff, but Hibana realizes the truth. You see, the sisters in the convent all grew the plants they would eat, and well, it turns out the food they were eating was laced with infernal bugs. That's when a familiar voice speaks from behind them. It's Sister Sumire. She's alive? Episode 8 starts with Hibana confronting Sister Sumire about this place. Did she know what was going on? Sister Sumire just smiles. So Hibana gives her theory about human combustion. In Adola, there are versions of every single person alive, aka doppelgangers. And when a doppelganger fuses with its human version, it creates an infernal. Sumire congratulates Hibana on figuring it out, and then tells her more. Sumire says that the first great cataclysm, 250 years ago, was a failure. They didn't have enough pillars. Since then, Sumire's been working tirelessly to make sure they do it right this time, which means she's been alive for way more than 250 years. She then attacks them, and her ability lets her vibrate at super high frequencies. In fact, she's the one responsible for all of these earthquakes. Sumire then does something that is pure evil. She brings out all of Hibana's childhood friends who she turned into demon infernals. Sumire is then contacted by the lady inside the tabernacle, and she distracts Sumire long enough for Hibana and the others to escape. Sumire then reveals that she's one of the pillars herself. She has an Adola burst too. We then cut to Asakusa, where Arthur is depressed over losing Excalibur. So Vulcan gets Lisa and Yu, who just showed up, to help play into Arthur's fantasy and make him feel like a knight again. Lisa and Yu aren't sure about it, but Arthur's a complete idiot, and he buys every part of Vulcan's story. As they look for a legendary ore, Benimaru and Joker discuss how they'll help the 8th. Joker says he has allies in the Nether. Speaking of the Nether, Arthur completely misses the point of Vulcan's made-up quest and says they have to find the legendary ore in the Nether. Classic Arthur. I love him. The next episode starts with Vulcan, Lisa, and Yu doing their best to indulge Arthur as they follow him into the Nether, and they're super happy to be back together. It's just like the old days when Vulcan was a regular engineer. While Shinra discusses how to access Adola with Lieutenant Konro, Arthur and the others keep making their way inside the Nether until they find something. Arthur's parents. What? Arthur's parents greet their son, who's happy to see them. Arthur's parents explain the evangelist's whole plan, saying they're part of the resistance fighting against them. In reality, they know all of this because Arthur's dad has some weird power that shows him the truth of the world. They say they abandoned Arthur because they couldn't take him to the Nether. He was too young. In reality, they were flat broke and were chasing debt collectors, but I guess both things are technically true. Arthur's dad then takes him to a room full of tech from before the Great Cataclysm and gives him a rare metal that can't be melted, even with Arthur's insane heat output. Wait, they really did find a legendary ore. That's when 3 blonde kids show up. they're Arthur's siblings, which means his parents had more kids after coming to the Nether. Yu is super upset by this, but Arthur doesn't care. After that, they forge the new Excalibur, and Arthur is stoked. His parents abandon him again, and Arthur is completely unbothered. He's ready to be the Night King again. Meanwhile, Shinra is trying to establish a link with Adola. Benimaru gives him some tips before he goes gambling, Chad, and Shinra falls asleep. When Shinra wakes up, he's having an Adola link with Sho, and Sho remembers his brother. Episode 10 starts with Sho deciding to ditch the white clad and go after Shinra. Since Haumea is busy taking in the collective unconscious, she can't stop him. After getting past everyone without too much suspicion, Sho finds Arrow. But not only does Arrow not stop him, she goes with him. She says her entire purpose and happiness lies in protecting Sho, which means he's stuck with her. Shinra then wakes up, and Company 8 has a meeting. Hibana shows up and tells them that the Great Cataclysm is starting soon, and then the meeting divulges into everyone picking romantic partners for each other. I am way too harsh on Arthur, aren't I? These guys are all idiots. That's when the ground bursts, and the talking mole Scope comes through it. Scope then goes on a long rant about how he got here and only shuts up when Arthur kicks him. Scope then says why he's here, to share the Lady in the Tabernacle's last words before she died, and they were about the Great Cataclysm. Meanwhile, the White-clad gather as well, and we see a member we haven't seen before, Fairy, the Guardian, with no pillar to protect. Back with the 8th, Scope tells them that the Lady in the Tabernacle said the last Great Cataclysm failed because they hadn't deciphered the value of pi yet, but Vulcan's ancestor managed to crack it, which means the White-clad has it now. It's bad, but Obi has some good news. Even though they're traitors, Captain Honda of the 2nd and newly appointed Captain Pon of the 4th will help them. That's when Scope says he feels a strange energy in the ground. We then see Sister Sumire use her vibration to cause another earthquake, but this one is different because in the ocean, a giant pillar bursts out of the water, and so it begins. One pillar appears, 7 more to go. The next episode starts with Haumea saying it started, before heading back to do her thing. We then see a giant mecha infernal pop out of the water next to the pillar, making its way inland. Shinra begs Obi to let him go. He's the only one who can stop it. So Obi agrees, and Shinra flies off. Captain Honda and the 3rd Company arrive to fight the infernal, as well as Kurono. He hates fighting strong opponents, but his boss, Oguro, is calling the shots, so he has to. The 3rd then launches all their weapons at the infernal, but they don't even make a scratch. Juggernaut shows up and loads a blast on the infernal and the pillar, only for Shinra to jump in front of the blast and get knocked out.
No, don't do it!
Stop, Shinra! Scope is there too, and while Kurono saves Shinra on Oguro's orders, Scope explains that the pillar is plugging an underwater volcano. Destroying it would lead to serious casualties. While Kurono saves Shinra, Juggernaut unloads shots on just the infernal, but even his firepower isn't doing anything. So Oguro sends Kurono to deal with it. Oguro then prepares to take Shinra in, but Captain Honda says the army will handle it. And that is when Fairy shows up and says he'll be taking Shinra. Fairy's ability lets him manipulate gravity, and it's seriously trippy.
I'm standing on the floor.
Kurono saves Oguro, while Honda falls into the water, and Fairy grabs Shinra. The Infernal then unleashes a blast and does a lot of damage. Thankfully, Pon and the 4th show up. Pon's protective buffs saves the people there, and both he and Karin help Ogun take down one of the Infernal's arms. Kurono slides in to attack the Infernal, and he is so cool.
He'll slice you to shreds.
Fairy still has Shinra, but Sho is here now too, and he is gonna save his brother. Sho and Arrow start fighting Fairy, but Sho can't get close to him. His ability is way too crafty. Turns out, Fairy can use an Adola burst to manipulate the mass of things, changing their gravitational pull. Shoal rejected him as a guardian, and Fairy says that was a big mistake. He toys with Shoal a bit before leaving. Shoal saves Shinra and disappears when Ogun shows up. Meanwhile, Kurono finally takes down the Infernal. He is a monster.
Seems like you're finally weak enough for me to enjoy myself.
Back with the 8th, everyone is watching on TV when Iris has an Adola link and sees the first pillar. Oh boy. While Iris prays, Yona explains his injury. The last great cataclysm failed, but it brought Adola closer to this world, and he managed to slip through with the insects. He found the first pillar with the Adola burst, captured her, stole Raffles the First's identity, and began the Holy Soul religion. And now it's time to run the Great Cataclysm back. Meanwhile, the remains of the giant Infernal fill the pillar and activate it. Shinra then has an Adola link with Inca and asks her what's going on. She doesn't know for sure since she can only see stuff that's definitely gonna happen. When Shinra asks her for clues, she says Shinra should look in the past. He might find what he's looking for. Shinra's gonna have to go light speed to do it, so Inca hops on his back and they head off into the past. And what Shinra sees breaks his brain. The world before the Great Cataclysm, the world without spontaneous human combustion in our human world. The reality drives Shinra insane, and he doesn't know how to deal with it. That's when Shinra wakes up, chained to a bed, with dyed blonde hair and piercings. On the TV, he hears the reporter announce that a 5th pillar has appeared in the ocean, and Shinra is stunned. The next episode starts when Obi and Hinawa come inside and tell him to stop making a ruckus. Arthur joins them and says the real Shinra is back. Wait, what? After Shinra freaks out about his hair and piercings, we learn what happened. After Shinra went to take down the huge Infernal, he changed for 3 whole months. It's like he was having a rebellious phase. He was rude, got a hair change and piercings, and even made Vulcan give him tattoos. And worst of all, he was physically violent towards Iris. Arthur could tell he wasn't himself, and Shinra appreciates that, though he doesn't want to admit that they're friends. Later, Arthur asks Shinra where he was all this time and what he saw. Shinra draws a human on the ground, saying he saw the past and humans who looked like the drawing. Shinra then asked Arthur what he thought of him over the past 3 months. Arthur reminds Shinra of the rumors about him at the academy. They called Shinra the devil who killed his family and said that he had tattoos on his legs to commemorate his murders. Arthur says that the version of Shinra that was around for the last 3 months really reminded him of Shinra from the rumors, which can only mean one thing. Doppelgangers are the versions of people that other people have in their minds. Iris then shows up, and she can tell Shinra is back to himself. They talk in private, and Shinra apologizes. Iris then tells Shinra she wants to tell him something, and then she makes a small fire with her finger. Since the pillars showed up, 2nd and 3rd generation pyrokinetics have gotten a lot stronger, probably because Adola is now closer to their world. Turns out, Iris is a 3rd generation pyrokinetic as well. Her powers were just too weak to manifest before. Iris then says that this has made her doubt everything about herself. She wonders if she's even a real person. Shinra realizes what this means. Since the person inside Amaterasu looks like Iris, she wonders if they're each other's doppelgangers. Shinra then talks to Obi, who's happy to have him back, and Shinra, as always, is moved by his kindness. While Shinra fills Obi in on the stuff he saw, Benimaru tells Konro he keeps having the same dream about himself, Konro, and their former captain. We then see Joker sleeping when he has an Adola link. He sees Burns' doppelganger doppelganger, as well as another very scary-looking man, and that's when another pillar appears. This cannot be good. The next episode starts with a flashback to 9 years ago. Benimaru was young, and Konro was telling him he needed to learn a technique called Nichirin. Benimaru wasn't interested, but Konro said he absolutely had to, and he'd learn it from the leader of Asakusa at the time, Hibachi Shinmon, Benimaru's adoptive father. Back in the present, a 7th pillar has appeared too. While the 6th pillar is accompanied by a big-ass mecha infernal like usual, the 7th is accompanied by someone much smaller, but even more dangerous. It's Hibachi Shinmon's doppelganger. Benimaru immediately heads over, and while Kurono takes on the mech suit, Benimaru fights Hibachi. As they fight, the world around them starts to change. Hibachi calls Benimaru an idiot who can't even make a proper Nichirin. Benimaru then remembers how rough the old man used to be on him. Hibachi always called Benimaru a knucklehead, but said that only a knucklehead could run Asakusa. It's too much of a burden. One day, Hibachi took down a woman who turned into an infernal, despite the woman's poor son begging him to spare her. That day, Hibachi told Benimaru to find the resolve needed to lead Asakusa. Hibachi couldn't do it forever, so Benimaru did, and he achieved Nichirin. But that's when the kid from before stabbed Hibachi. Hibachi wasn't mad though. He accepted the kid's decision, and when the kid asked for an explanation, Hibachi said he had none. After all, Hibachi was a knucklehead too. Back in the present, Hibachi and Benimaru trade blows, and it is epic.
Akebono! Shokugitsu!
The shape of the water starts changing. It looks like how people would imagine the ocean to be, and this is all thanks to Adola coming closer. People's perceptions and thoughts about things are becoming reality. Benimaru goes back and forth with Hibachi, saying he doesn't want to send him off so soon. Benimaru asks him if he wants tea or something, before Hibachi blasts him with an attack. But both Hibachi and Konro know the truth. That didn't do to Benimaru. Benimaru then bows his head and apologizes to Hibachi for causing him so much trouble as a kid, saying he is Asakusa's leader now, and he wants to show Hibachi the kind of leader he is. Benimaru's men show up and cheer him on as he unleashes his very own Nichirin, and like everything Benimaru does, it is cool as hell.
He's like one of the Wisdom Kings. Now that's real Asakusa Higashi!
Before Hibachi is totally blown away, Benimaru thanks him for everything, and Hibachi gives him his approval before he disappears. Konro is moved to tears. Episode 15 kicks off with everyone trying to cope with the new shape the moon has just taken. It's unnerving. Licht shows up and confirms Hibana's suspicions. Adola is a world shaped by human imagination and thought. Things changing shape means Adola is getting closer, and when the 8th pillar shows up, the Earth will merge with Adola. But how does that help the White Clad? Things looking goofy doesn't seem too bad. Well, you see, there's one thing every human's thoughts have in common. Death is at the end of them, which means if the Earth merged with Adola, everyone would die. While Kurono completes his mission, we see Ero and Sho in civilian clothes. They're going on a little trip. Sho has had enough of not knowing anything about himself, Shinra, and their mom. So, with Ero, he sneaks into a government building and steals the records on his family. Sho learns that his mom's name is Mari, and also the fact that he's legally dead. But something's strange. There's no record of his dad. Sho gets his birth certificate from the hospital where he was born, and it's the same thing. No record of his dad. In fact, the hospital records say Mari was tested for 2 virgin births. Ero and Sho decide to ask a local newsletter writer from the time, and he tells them that the Holy Soul Temple told him not to publish anything about Mari's story. Sho then has an Adola link and sees Mari's demon form, who shows him everything. 17 years ago, Mari became pregnant with Shinra. One problem, she'd never even been remotely involved with any men. Her family didn't believe her, but the tests confirmed it. She was having a virgin birth. After Shinra was born, the doctor told her about a story from before the Great Cataclysm, how a child born of a virgin birth became the savior of the world. Sound familiar? Mari's mom came to yell disgusting things at her, calling Shinra unwanted, officially disowned her, and left her behind forever. But Mari told a baby Shinra that he's not unwanted. In fact, he'd be the hero who'd save the world. After that, Sho was born, and we know the rest. Sho snaps back to Adola, and he realizes what happened. Adola is a world shaped by human imagination and thought, which means that their current world is influenced by the thoughts of the people before the Great Cataclysm. And since those people had tales of a virgin-born child who would save the world, those tales influenced their world, and Shinra was born. In other words, Shinra is literally their version of Jesus. It's a little confusing, but it checks out, I suppose. Sho then realizes that his purpose is to help Shinra become the hero that'll save the world, and that's exactly what he plans to do. Episode 16 opens with the White-Clad saying everything is going according to plan. Haumea confirms that the collective unconscious wants death, and there's just one pillar left. That pillar shows up, and the infernal accompanying it is a huge circular object. Fairy appears on top of the pillar, saying that any sort of idea humanity has about a savior needs to be destroyed for the Great Cataclysm to happen. Remember that. The 4th and 2nd companies show up to deal with regular infernals and evacuate civilians. Captain Honda tries attacking the infernal, but it does nothing. So, Oguro sends Kurono after it, and that is when a light shines, and someone descends from above. Raffles the First. Obviously, this is a trick, but regular people are idiots and they gobble it up. Raffles then starts attacking with fire beams, and people just assume it's divine punishment for their sins. The 8th shows up, and Pan and Karin shield everyone from the blasts. That's when Shinra shows up, ready to take Raffles down. Unfortunately, he'll have to get past Fairy first, and he's one tricky bastard to get by. After getting kicked around a bit, Sho saves Shinra, who hugs his brother. Aww. Fairy disappears, saying his work is done. Sho explains to Shinra that he needs to become the image of hope for the people. Since Adola is fueled by imagination, if people think Shinra is the hero who'll save them, it'll come true. And that's when Raffles fuses with the circular object.
Lato.
Raffles throws some attacks, but Shinra stops them. Raffles then releases 8 demons, but Shinra takes them down in an instant. Shinra knows he has to go light speed to take down Raffles, but the resulting shockwave could hurt his friends. That's when Iris awakens her powers and protects everyone with a shield. She has an Adola burst and is the 8th and final pillar.
Wait, is it Iris?
With his friends safe, Shinra charges up in the image of a hero and bursts right through Raffles' head. Unfortunately, that's exactly what the White-Clad wanted. They just broadcasted Shinra killing Raffles the First to the entire empire. And now, everyone thinks Shinra is a devil. Humanity loses all hope. And Vulcan has bad news. Shinra just disappeared. I have a bad feeling about this. The next episode starts with the realization that it's not just Shinra. All the pillars have disappeared. Sho, Iris, and the rest, including the first pillar. Which means Amaterasu isn't working anymore, and the entire empire is suffering a blackout. Arrow shows up and explains what just happened. Humanity losing hope caused all the pillars to be taken away to Adola. Vulcan figures the White-Clad are heading to Amaterasu. It probably has something to do with their plan, so the 8th takes Arrow and heads over there, and Ogun tags along. Arthur tells Ogun that Shinra isn't a devil anymore. He'll make it back from Adola. Ogun then remembers how the 3 of them met at the academy and became friends. They make it to Amaterasu. and the plan is simple. Vulcan, Lisa, you, and Arthur will go inside to see what's happening, and everyone else will guard the entrance. Charon and Ritsu show up with hella infernals, and the fight is on. Everyone is going all out, and we see just how strong Arrow is. Ritsu uses the dead infernals to make even bigger ones, so Hinawa and Arrow take them on. Meanwhile, Charon locks himself in battle with Ogun. This is gonna be a good one. Ogun activates Flamey Ink, but Charon keeps absorbing his attacks and sending them back at him. Ogun is getting his ass beat, so he tries Shinra's method of countering Charon's counter, but it doesn't go so well.
Yes!
Charon pummels Ogun over and over again, saying he can't win. But Ogun remembers what makes fire soldiers special. They work as a team, and that's when Hinawa uses Ogun's distraction to shoot Charon, taking a whole chunk off of him. The next episode picks up right there, and Charon is in bad shape. Meanwhile, Arthur, Vulcan, Lisa, and Yu make their way inside Amaterasu. Arthur gets distracted by some bugs, and he's separated from the others. They make it to the center of Amaterasu, and Vulcan opens it, only to be jump scared by Giovanni.
I truly appreciate you opening that for me. What a gentleman.
Giovanni thanks him for opening it and then explains what he's doing. See, the secret code to activating Amaterasu is pi. That's how the evangelist designed it. Normally, pi would be infinite, so this could never work. However, with Adola coming closer and the world changing, the physical laws of this world have changed. So much so that pi is now a calculable number, and Giovanni's gonna use it to activate Amaterasu. Turns out, Amaterasu's true purpose is to activate the flame for the Great Cataclysm. It all started when Vulcan and Giovanni's ancestors worked together to build Amaterasu, but Vulcan's ancestors knew something shady was going on. So they decided to lock away Amaterasu's true power. But Giovanni can unlock it now, and he's gonna do just that. Giovanni then reveals his body, and it's just an amalgamation of bugs.
All that writhing black you see, it's just a mass of insects.
Nightmare fuel. Vulcan tries breaking him up with Lisa's help, and we see Giovanni's real body is just a small insect. But Giovanni just grows himself back up before implanting you with a bug. Ah. Outside, Hinawa tries going in, but Charon gets in the way. So Hinawa goes full Danny DeVito on him.
My gun. Anyway, I started blasting. Bang! Bang!
Hinawa keeps blasting, and Charon keeps absorbing. He needs to go through with this for Haumea. She's been suffering because of the collective unconscious since she was a child, and the Great Cataclysm will free her. So Charon's gonna make sure that her suffering ends. Now that is a girl dad. Meanwhile, Yu is turning into an infernal, and Vulcan needs to stop it. Licht says Giovanni is probably controlling the bugs, so Vulcan scans and finds mechanical bugs Giovanni made. They're controlling the rest of them. Lisa helps him take the bugs out, and Giovanni is crushed, only for them to realize Giovanni has taken over Yu's body, and he's about to start the Great Cataclysm. The next episode starts with Shinra waking up in Adola, stuck inside a pillar. Haumea is atop her pillar, waiting and praying. Meanwhile, Charon is eating more of Hinawa's blasts, but he's at his limit. Charon then thinks about how Haumea grew up. She's had to feel all of humanity's negative thoughts since she was a child, and because of it, she's always been prone to having a bad temper. But Charon put up with all the abuse she gave him because it was just a fraction of what Haumea was suffering. Haumea always had the ability to read people's minds, and when she read Charon's, she saw only one thing: unconditional love for her. Like I said, girl dad. Charon's at his limit, and he starts heating up. Haumea is devastated, but Charon says she'll be fine without him, and just like that, he explodes.
Haumea.
The possessed Yu then activates Amaterasu. What happens next is quick and weird. The pillars all join together and form a massive eyeball in the sky. Adola and this world are now linked together. The world becomes more cartoonish. Everyone's thoughts appear in text bubbles beside them, and the world is covered in flames. Reality as we know it is unraveling. Haumea then swoops through Adola, with all kinds of weird images of our world and theirs flashing behind her. She says all hope is fake, and speaks about human despair. She then tells everyone to get ready for what comes next. In the real world, everyone is panicking big time. People are running, the fire soldiers are confused, and doppelgangers are starting to show up. Joker watches all this happen and understands it. This is despair manifest. Meanwhile, Giovanni has taken his place in Yu's brain and is controlling the poor boy. They can't stop him, but Arthur can. He eliminates Giovanni from Yu's brain and saves him. Yu then gives Arthur a ring, and it feeds into Arthur's fantasy. He says that he's maxed out his XP and is now officially the Night King, and this time they believe him. Arthur and the others go outside and regroup with everyone else. Joker shows up and they find out that the flames everywhere are being fueled by humanity's despair. The reason the white-clad were afraid of Shinra becoming a hero is because that would give people hope, and hope is the only way to counter despair. Hinawa gives it to Obi straight. Obi is their light, and they need him to guide them. Obi agrees, saying the 8th doesn't do despair. They're all about hope, but they have their work cut out for them. Barry, Dragon, and the doppelgangers of the strongest people on Earth are waiting for them. Now, we get into the really weird stuff.
A human that possesses free will is a myth. They are always carried by some larger force, government or religion, for example.
Episode 20 starts with Sister Sumire telling her backstory before the previous great cataclysm, and the whole thing is in live action. She explains how this isn't the first or second time this has happened. The world has been subjected to many great cataclysms. Each one evolved the world, moving it closer and closer towards the final step of evolution. She talks about how humans lack individuality and are all slaves to the collective unconscious. She says this great cataclysm will be the last one, and it's all creepy as hell. Obi then radios all the Fire Force companies and explains what's going on. In short, they need to spread hope. It's literally the only way to save the world. So, the fire soldiers do that. While Arthur leaves, he's gonna face the dragon. Obi also talks to a little boy named Tatsuto. That will be important in a minute. Joker and Leaked talk, and Leaked says that while saving people is important, it won't change much unless the really influential people, the world builders, are filled with hope. That's when Joker gets an Adola link about doppelgangers, as does Benimaru. Joker heads off to see what's happening. Meanwhile, Company 8 faces the first doppelganger, and it's Assault's doppelganger. Unlike the real Assault, he's unaffected by Tamaki's Lucky Lecher lure, and that, my friends, is bad news. Juggernaut shows up to help, but it's useless. Assault is ridiculously strong. He takes down Maki, Hinawa, and Obi, as well as Arrow and Juggernaut. Juggernaut did manage to ask Tamaki out before he got pummeled though, so that's still a massive W in my books. Doppelganger Assault then faces Tamaki and starts whooping her. Tamaki's clothes get torn as she fights, and the people around her start shaming her when she's literally saving their lives. Leaked then has an idea. Up until now, he thought Tamaki's Lucky Lecher lure was just bad luck, but now he thinks it has something to do with her role in the world. That's when Tatsuto's mother starts yelling at Tamaki, telling her to cover herself up. She doesn't want Tatsuto to see her, but Tamaki has had enough of that. So she removes everything but her underwear and says she'll show everyone the power of sexiness. Yes, it's corny, but it is going somewhere, I promise. Tatsuto then confronts his mom. She's seemingly only mad at Tamaki because she's attractive, but by that logic, everyone who's good at something should be punished for being good at it and make way for the less fortunate. He makes the point that Tamaki only looks this good because she's trained her body and that his mom is just jealous. Tatsuto then goes meta. He says that he's part of the story because he told Obi his name, but Tatsuto says he doesn't even remember his mom's name. And just like that, Tatsuto's mom vanishes. And that's when the real Assault shows up, and he's here to help Tamaki. Tamaki and Assault take on the doppelganger. The doppelganger rejects all forms of sexuality, but the real Assault says sexiness is part of life. If there's no desire, then there's no future. Leaked then realizes Tamaki's role. Shinra is a hero, Sho is an angel, Captain Obi is the light, and Tamaki is the world's sensuality. Assault then absolutely blasts his doppelganger, and Tamaki adds the finishing blow. Everyone takes off their shirts to show their support for her, and now I never have to think about fan service philosophically ever again. Welcome to my favorite episode in the show. Episode 21 kicks off with some cool, unique animations, and the narrator talks about Dragon and Arthur. Leaked simplifies what the narrator is saying. Dragon is one of those world builders Leaked was talking about. The only problem is, he's filled with nothing but despair. Arthur doesn't just have to defeat Dragon, he has to defeat Dragon's despair as well. Arthur shows up in front of Dragon, and the fight is on. Unlike last time, Arthur's attacks actually hurt Dragon. Dragon then sends Arthur into the sky, where Arthur charges Excalibur with some lightning. We then learn that Dragon was alive before the previous Great Cataclysm. The narrator calls him a calamity with flesh, a walking, natural disaster. But that power gave Dragon nothing. He was without purpose, and life was meaningless. That is, until Fairy showed up to recruit him. Dragon joined the White Clad, but it didn't remove his despair, it only deepened it. Now though, fighting with Arthur, he's finally found a worthy opponent, and sparks of hope begin to ignite. They fight, and Arthur does the unthinkable. He cuts Dragon and makes him bleed.
Violet Strike, Octo Strike!
Dragon then brings out his true form, saying this world can't contain them, before dragging Arthur to the moon. Arthur can't breathe here until he puts on the ring that you gave him. Arthur then feeds into Adola and gets even stronger. Having a strong imagination is OP. Arthur says he'll replace Dragon's despair with hope, and Dragon says he'd like to see Arthur try. With that, they begin fighting, and they are literally breaking apart the text appearing before them. Proper reality-bending stuff. After that, Arthur and Dragon aren't just beating each other up, they're trying to end each other, and it is as beautifully animated as it is brutal. Their fight takes them off the moon, around some stars, and back to the moon. Arthur stabs Dragon through the chest, saying he will remove Dragon's despair, but Dragon just blasts him with a beam, tearing off Arthur's left arm. Arthur doesn't budge though. He is the Night King, and he won't back down. Arthur realizes that the press of death won't be enough to take down Dragon. For him, Arthur needs the readiness of death. The only way to beat Dragon's despair is to be ready to die trying. Dragon laughs. How can Arthur remove the despair he's felt for centuries? So Arthur shows him. Arthur chases him down, and Dragon blows Arthur's bottom half off with a beam. But Arthur pushes forward and unleashes a swing that doesn't just cut Dragon in half, it cuts the world's despair away.
Here it comes!
At last.
Violet Earth Cleaver!
Dragon is defeated, and with him his despair. Filled with hope in his final moments, he thanks Arthur, and we see Fairy's disbelief back on Earth as Dragon's despair disappears. Arthur, meanwhile, is not in good shape. As he passes out, he calls out to Shinra before closing his eyes and letting go of Excalibur. The greatest thing a knight can do is slay a dragon, and Arthur slayed the mightiest dragon there was. Oh, he's not dead, don't be so sad. Episode 22 starts with Arthur's light slowing down the flames on Earth. They have some breathing room now, and Fairy is pissed. He won't let this stand. Meanwhile, Kurono faces his doppelganger, who's just a bloodthirsty psycho, and Kurono says that's not who he is at all. He's just an honest salaryman.
And now I ask you leave this world.
And it turns out, psychos don't got nothing on salarymen. Joker, meanwhile, is getting cooked by his doppelganger, when Burns' doppelganger shows up too. Joker is more than happy to die at Burns' hands, when Burns' doppelganger kills Joker's doppelganger instead. Turns out, Burns merged with his doppelganger and retained his consciousness. He's back! Up next is the biggest problem. Benimaru is facing his own doppelganger. Konro and the rest of Asakusa are worried. After all, everyone knows Benimaru is the strongest, so how strong would their idea of Benimaru be? Well, it's not strong enough. Benimaru one-shots his doppelganger with ease. Even though everyone knows he's the strongest, they still underrated him. After that, the eye in the sky cracks, and the pillars start returning to Earth. Kurono saves Nataku, while Iris is confronted by the first pillar, aka Amaterasu, aka her doppelganger. Or rather, Iris is her doppelganger. Amaterasu explains that she had been burning for centuries, while Iris was just chillin'. Amaterasu wants Iris to kill her and take her place, but Iris refuses, saying she should be the one to die. Before they can decide on anything, Haumea shows up. Meanwhile, Sho confronts Fairy and they start fighting, but Fairy can control time as well, thanks to Adola boosting his gravity powers. Unfortunately, Sho doesn't care.
You can't possibly measure up!
As his dying act, Fairy pulls the moon towards Earth. He's gonna destroy everything. No one can stop the moon from crushing the Earth. No one except Earth's hero, that is. Shinra kicks the moon back up and reunites with Sho. After getting his gear back, Sho says they need to go back to Adola and stop Haumea and the Evangelist. So they go through the eye in the sky and witness the history of humanity's despair. They then arrive in Adola, where they see Haumea, Inca, and Sister Sumire, and Haumea invites them to help her destroy this world. The next episode opens with glimpses of Haumea's tough childhood. She lived in the darkness, accepting all of humanity's darkest thoughts. But now, her eyes are open. She sheds a tear for Charon and holds her arms out to Sho and Shinra. After that, Haumea takes Inca and Sumire's hands and burns them alive. Shinra asks how she could do that, and Haumea says death is the only true salvation. The Evangelist shows up behind her, and Sho says the Evangelist is basically the collective unconscious manifest. And now that Haumea has taken in the collective unconscious, she's practically a god. Haumea says that no matter what humans say, they subconsciously all yearn for death. But we see the fire soldiers helping people on Earth, and Shinra rejects that notion. Death can't be the only way forward. Sho stops time, and both he and Shinra try attacking Haumea, but nothing happens to her. Turns out she has the powers of the other pillars, and says her fate is predetermined. Shinra can't hurt her. She then uses Sumire's power to attack Shinra and Sho, who can't land a hit on her. Shinra's hope is keeping this world alive, so Haumea decides to prove death is the only salvation by breaking his hope, by showing him what became of Iris.
No way.
Oh no. Shinra is filled with rage and wants revenge. Haumea says that's always been Shinra's motivating factor, revenge and rage. But Sho stops him and reminds him that he's not fighting for himself. He's fighting for Captain Obi, his friends at the 8th, and the people of this world. Since Shinra won't break, Haumea decides to take away his and everyone's shining light of hope. Shinra watches in horror as Obi's doppelganger slits the real Obi's throat. Obi was hope itself, and with him gone, Shinra finally falls into despair. The great cataclysm jumpstarts again, and everyone has to make peace with the fact that it's over. Maki, Tamaki, Hinawa, Hibana, everyone gets consumed by the flames. Benimaru, Konro, and Asakusa go down smiling, and Yona is super happy to be reunited with Adola's flame. The world is covered in fire, but in space, Arthur grabs Excalibur again. Episode 24 starts with the Earth covered in black flames, completely united with Adola. Shinra, Sho, and Haumea are the only people left on Earth. Shinra is about to give in to his rage until Arthur kindly reminds him not to do that. As Haumea looks at Arthur, she calls him Shinra's guardian. You're goddamn right. Arthur says Shinra is the only person who's not allowed to lose hope. Why? Because he is a hero. Shinra locks in, and that's when Mari shows up in demon form and hugs her sons. We then see a rare memory of Sho, Shinra, and Mari enjoying a day together, and it's beautiful stuff. Mari is super happy to be reunited with her family, but why is she here? Well, that's because Mari is the Evangelist's doppelganger. The Evangelist represents despair, and Mari represents hope. Shinra tries attacking, but with the powers of all the other pillars and humanity's despair, Haumea is too powerful. So Shinra says they need to bring their hope together, just like Haumea brought humanity's despair together. With that, the Kusakabe family merges, and out of it emerges a new hero, Shinra Banshoman. Haumea tries to attack Shinra, but he just tanks all of her attacks. So Haumea fuses with the Evangelist, becoming the Despair Saintess. But Shinra is too full of hope to care. He doesn't buy all that predetermined. Life's no fun that way. Shinra then starts turning the flames into flowers. With each step, he breathes life back into the world. He brings back the ocean, animals, and clears the world of all the flames. Haumea says despair has no solution, but Shinra obviously disagrees. Shinra then brings back more living creatures, and Haumea drops to her knees. She tells Shinra this won't fix anything. As long as humans and the concept of death exist, humanity will despair again. Their despair starts flooding Shinra, and he's shook until Sho and Mari calm him down. Shinra thinks about it, and now he has a new plan. Haumea shoots at him, but he uses that energy to recreate the world and bring everyone back to life. And I mean everyone. Reika, Giovanni, Burns, Hibachi, and Obi too. Apparently, this took Shinra a bunch of loops, but Shinra's finally found a way to end humanity's despair. The last episode of Fire Force opens with everyone realizing something is off. This world is a little too laid back. Shinra then explains what he did. When he recreated the world, he lessened the value of human lives. He also made death something familiar, maybe even friendly. Shinra says he'll redo the world if Haumea isn't pleased with it, and Haumea hides from him. She's about to choose despair again until Charon shows up. He talks about how much Haumea means to him, and how he never got to see her smile. And even after being filled with the despair of all of humankind, Haumea can't reject the man who's a father to her. Humanity's despair tries attacking one more time, but Shinra banishes it away.
Never gonna catch on in this world. Time for you to go.
It's all over now. Inside Haumea, Amaterasu and Sumire decide they're gonna peace out with the despair, while Iris and Inca choose life. Amaterasu thanks Iris for always being full of hope and tells her to live long enough for both of them. And just like that, Iris and Inca are back. After that, there's just one last thing left to do. Introduce everyone to the new god of this world.
It's the last piece of the puzzle this world needs if we want to survive. He's our god.
This is the Shinigami from Soul Eater, or at least it's its prototype. The Shinigami takes away everyone's ignition powers and Adola bursts, removing all spontaneous human combustion from the world. Shinra, Mari, and Sho go back to normal, and then the Shinigami disappears. Mari's still in her demon form, but hey, it's a new world. Maybe demons can be moms. Shinra returns to the 8th with Iris and announces that he's completed his mission as everyone runs in to hug them. Shinra only used to smile because of his nervous quirk, but he can smile for real now, and it's all thanks to his friends at the Special Fire Force Company 8. In the aftermath of this, the world has changed a lot. Juggernaut and Tamaki are on a date and discuss the new world. While ignition powers are gone, those with strong souls have gotten even stronger. Captain Obi is so strong that he can flip a mountain with one hand, and Benimaru and Corna are even stronger than that. They're all part of the World Hero Force, along with Shinra, Arthur, and Ogun too. Iris and Hibana talk about Shinra, and it's clear Iris is in love with him. Meanwhile, Arthur pays his respects to the reincarnation of Dragon, which is a literal dragon, and heads off with Shinra and Ogun to stop Inca. Oh, and Excalibur's alive now and can talk. Anyway, Inca says she wants Shinra's baby? Not because she loves him, but because she wants to have a child with the hero who saved the world. Shinra says no, so they're gonna have to fight. 25 years later, yeah, you heard that right, Shinra is the leader of the World Hero Force, and everything is looking good. But that is just half the story, because the end of Fire Force's world marks the beginning of Soul Eater. And that was our recap of Fire Force. Thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed, feel free to click the link on screen to watch another one of my videos, but in the meantime, peace!